it to us. All operators are busy at this time.
It's time for day 2 of the Six Masters Finals. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Guz, and joining me is Mr. Worldwide himself, Dev Mata. How are you going after yesterday's matches?
Fantastic up until you called me that. But yeah, Six Masters, I'm so glad to be back on it, Guz. And it's also been like the better part of 6 months since I last casted with you, so I'm super keen to jump on this one.
Awesome. Well, let's hope my eardrums are ready. Of course, you guys can stay up to date with all of the action in Six Masters by following at Rainbow Six ANZ on your favorite social media platforms. And of course, if you jump over to Twitter, you can have your say in the community polls. Now, yesterday, Dev, we saw 2 cracking matchups. It was Sinister taking on Okami and then Wildcard taking on the Knights. Fortunately for you guys, if you missed it or if you want to relive all of the action, we have a highlights package. Let's roll the clip and we'll see you guys on the other side.
The Six Masters 2020 Finals is finally upon us here, and this is the culmination of what was a very long, drawn-out season. The top 4 made it through to these playoffs. At the end of the day, though, prize pool's one thing, but they want to show that they're now the best team in Oceania.
But he has a feeling that Vinny's over there, and indeed, Vinny gets the peek first. Can he deny the plant? He can from above! Where the player is covering that! Of course, this top floor presence already established. What is that peak?
Want to just deny it at the last second if possible. Quick flick from behind. 12 seconds left with match point. Cutie from above gets Nico down.
Surely not. Milo to find that 1 kill. Can he find the second? That's perfect for Milo with a 3K. They're not even going to clear the shield, but somehow he wins the fight anyway.
That's going to be an
Wow.
easy kill.
Flashbang!
This is where the presence from Sinister starts to come in.
Oh my God.
That's a knock. Angle shuts him down.
They've stolen the round and they've got match point.
Whips out the pistol, doesn't know there's one right behind him, involved, caught in the corner. And that is Akami to steal the series 2-0 here against Sinister.
Moving forward in the upper bracket. Pittsburgh trying to climb Mount Everest in trying to take down Wildcard. Pushing around the corner. Pat has the ace completed. That's really what Wildcard just do best, making it difficult for the opponents. From above and from behind. Gio just gets a quick double. Nice little hold spotted though through Ethan. Gets a second one. Gonna get a third one. Oh my God. Doesn't take any damage. Gets up. Double kill. Gets his third kill. He's like the Terminator running around just killing everyone. 6-0. Match point and series point now. That's it. The series is done.
In very dominant fashion, take that 7-0 and of course the series 2-0, progressing forward.
Both semifinals now completed, and the gauntlet process begins for either Sinister or Pittsburgh.
Obviously, some great highlights from yesterday, Dev. I know you were casting it. There was some really action-packed moments and some probably unexpected results there as well.
Yeah.
How are you feeling coming out of that one?
Yeah, I didn't know exactly what to expect going into yesterday. I think our expectation was that Sinister would probably defeat Akami and Wildcard would take Knights. And the first map with Knights Wildcard was pretty crazy, to be honest. Like, we did not expect Knights to take that match point and almost take that first map. But obviously Wildcard really came back strong 7-0 on map 2. With the Akami Sinister game, I don't know what exactly happened with Sinister, but I do know that Akami absolutely turned up the heat. And it was fantastic to see them really step it up against Sinister and head to that upper bracket final.
Well, of course, with the first day's play done, we head into, of course, the second. Let's bring up the schedule and see who's taking on who this afternoon. First up, it will be Akami taking on Wildcard, and this will be an absolute banger, Dev. Of course, that will be followed up second by Sinister and Pittsburgh in the elimination final.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff here today. As you mentioned, that upper bracket final, a lot of stakes on this one. The winner of Akami Wildcard goes straight to that grand final and doesn't have to fight through the lower bracket. And as for Sinister Pittsburgh, well, they're playing for their lives at the moment here in Six Masters. There's so much on the line here. The winner of that can still take the entire tournament, but the loser does go home here in this double elimination bracket. And also the loser of that game also doesn't qualify for the Oceanic Mini Major Gauntlet that we've got coming up next month as well.
Well, of course, yesterday, Akami managed to take a very convincing 2-0 against Sinister. Let's have a look at their lineup. And I mean, yesterday, Dev, they were in red-hot form. Sinister really struggling to shut them down.
Absolutely, and it's funny, usually when we talk about Akami, we're talking all about Ippy's style, that crazy fragger, really aggressive on his entries, really far and wide on his roams, but yesterday it wasn't necessarily Ippy's style that was going off, it was the entire team. Like, yeah, we had some crazy highlight moments like that one, but Cutie, who's stepped it up so far in the Six Masters, has absolutely been a highlight player. Jack Daddy on the anchor has been pivotal at shutting down the enemy team. And I also want to say Joker, and I swear I'm not just saying whoever's popping up on screen, but Joker, particularly on map 2, had some hugely impactful plays as a flank watch, as an entry, clawing things back for his team as well. So it definitely seems a lot of great things.
I definitely think that their strong point was really dictating the maps and the games on their terms. They didn't give Sinister any wriggle room. There was not really an opportunity for Sinister to crawl their way in towards that match and gain any momentum. Akami really just playing to their strengths, and it worked out. It was a pretty cruisy 2-0 in the end.
Yeah, very much so. And I've got to say, Akami, they not only did they show up on the day, but they clearly had Sinister's number. Coming into this series, we saw a couple target bans come out. The sledge ban on Villa, which is specifically targeted to Nico, forcing him to play the Buck instead. And he didn't quite have as much success on that one. So really, really good stuff from Akami, like playing top form, playing as a team, and also coming in with some really good research. I like that.
Well, of course, they're opponents of Wildcard, and they're coming in to tonight with some red-hot form themselves. Of course, yesterday, they 2-0'd Pittsburgh. One of those maps was, in fact, a 7-0 Dev, and they are looking very difficult to beat at the moment.
They've only dropped one map in the entire of Six Masters so far, period, and that was way on back in, like, week 3. So these guys just seem to cannot be stopped at the moment. Wildcard, obviously the most esteemed team here in the league after a couple of international performances, being within one round of taking down Na'Vi, the eventual Pro League champions in Season 10. And well, after a little bit of a respite, after a little bit of a couple of issues, I guess, during the Season 11 of Pro League where they ended up 4th, these guys just seem to have found back their form, and the new players are just popping off.
And if there's one player to keep your eye on for Wildcard, it has to be Ethan. Heading into the finals, he had over a 2 KD and was the overall kill leader for the entire league. So this man has been unstoppable at times. So it's going to be up to Akami to try and shut him down. If he pops off, then Wildcard could find themselves in a really nice position tonight.
The thing I love about watching Wildcard play is it just looks like they're manhandling their opponents every round. Like, they know exactly what's going to happen in the round and they step it up. You see huge clutches like that one from Ethan. Players like Pat. So Pat and Gio, the two newest players to this roster, both very new after just playing in one season of the Pro League. They joined the most esteemed team here. And I mean, Pat and Ethan actually have a bit of history. They used to play on Xbox together way back in the day. And I think it was a nice little kind of full circle moment when Ethan comes back and says, hey, Pat, do you want to come play on my team now? We're going to be Australian champions. And I think that's fantastic.
Well, of course, that's right. If we hark back only a few months, Wildcard did make those roster changes when Neo and Derp departed the team. They really struggled there in Season 11 of Pro League, but they have bounced back with a vengeance and they are really looking hot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like I was saying, Wildcard have so much going for them in this series, in this entire tournament, right? And we're always looking at who is going to be that team to put up a fight to Wildcard. Maybe on map 1, we thought it would be Knights yesterday. Clearly not on map 2. Akami next on the chopping block. We'll see.
Well, of course, we were talking about the map videos pre-broadcast, Ev. Of course, each team will get that initial ban. Who are we expecting, or what map are we expecting to be insta-banned by these teams?
Well, for Wildcard, it's kind of easy because they just always ban Border, so that's a nice easy one. But for Akami, I feel like, especially because their playstyle tends to be kind of trying to counter-strat, like we saw that a bit from yesterday in Sinister. Wouldn't be surprised if they try and target one of Wildcard's better maps. And in particular, the last time these two teams played each other was actually in the final week of the Six Masters online league phase, and Wildcard 7-0'd on Consulate and 7-3'd on Cafe. Now, Akami pretty good on Cafe, but I don't know, maybe they'll get rid of Consulate, maybe they'll get rid of Clubhouse. It's so difficult because there are so many good results from Wildcard to look at.
Of course, it is a best-of-3 format, so let's roll through the first bans, one for each team, and see where we won't be heading. And there we go, it'll be Consulate for Akami and Border for Wildcard. So there's not really anything jumping out at me or standing out in that regard.
Yeah, so for the Consulate ban, it's obviously where Wildcard 7-0'd Akami just a few weeks ago, so definitely don't want to be taking to that one. And if there's one thing, they say that there are 2 things certain in life, death and taxes. Well, I say there are 3 things certain in life, death, taxes, and Wildcard banning Border.
I think one thing that's interesting because of these bans is that's going to leave Theme Park on the board, for example. We've seen Wildcard go 3-0 in the regular season, so let's roll through the picks and see if Wildcard will actually head us there. No, it's going to be Clubhouse as their first pick. Another strong map for them, though. And then Villa for Akami.
Yeah, Villa is a map that Akami have been really working to improve recently, and having a look at their results yesterday, they didn't pick it against Sinister, but the opponent picked it. Sinister did, and Akami were just so good on that. It's also one of the maps, if I'm not wrong, I'm going to go back. It is the map that these two teams played each other in Six Masters on stage at the Melbourne Esports Open last year for that final map when it went down to an 8-6 and Wildcard just edged it away. So a lot of history here on Villa, and a lot of good form recently for Akami, so I like that pick. And Wildcard, I mean, it might be the only map that they lost this entire season. They lost it to LFO way back in week 3, but Wildcard also 7-0'd Knights yesterday, so clearly Clubhouse is a strong map for them.
Awesome. Let's go through the bans and see where we will go for the Decider. Coastline taken off the board by Akami, Cafe by Wildcard, and Theme Park will end up being that final map. I'm pretty surprised that Akami let that one slip through.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I just jot down these little things. I will say, for Theme Park, right? Yes, Wildcard have this flawless record on the map, but they've never picked it. It's always been during the season. They let it through the ban phase. It's not their favorite map, but they're happy to let the other team pick it. And I guess that trend continues here. From Akami's side, like, I don't know. I guess I'm just a bit surprised that they could let Clubhouse through, but Wildcard just picked it straight off the gate. For the Coastline pick, another historically pretty good map here for Wildcard. Looking through the season, there was a 7-2 against Kanga, but overall, yeah, I guess I'm kind of with you here. I can kind of see maybe that theme park ban would have been better than a coastline ban, but I haven't seen much good on coastline from Akami either that suggests maybe it'd be good to go there.
I mean, obviously, it's important to note that this is an incredibly difficult ban phase for Okami. Wildcard only dropped one map the entire season, so you could say that Wildcard are pretty proficient on all the maps. So
yeah,
if you're in Okami's camp, what do you ban? Because any map, Wildcard could win at the moment.
You think that most teams would be like, okay, what is our opponent lost on? Let's pick that map and let's play in there. Well, that's Clubhouse, which is Wildcard. In theory, that they think it's their best map, right? They picked it here. So, like, if the only map that your opponent has lost in the entire season is the map that they are picking, that's not a very good sign, right, for you? So, you're talking about Akami's going into this, looking at Wildcard and saying, okay, Wildcard have a 6-map pool. There are 7 maps in the entire pool, and Wildcard are fully 100% confident on 6 of them. And that means that Wildcard just have so much freedom here in this ban phase, and it becomes really difficult for Akami. So I think firstly, we're going to really be hoping that on map 1, Villa, Akami can really make a splash, because if not, it's going to be so difficult for them to recover later in the series.
And I mean, even despite winning Villa yesterday, Okami throughout the season didn't actually have the best form of Villa, right? They played it twice. Yeah. One of those was their picks, and they actually lost it on both occasions. One of those was against LFO, a close 7-8. And then the second was actually against Sinister, who they managed to beat yesterday, a 5-7. So Okami, I think, are definitely going to be beatable on this map, especially if Wildcard have worked out, their weaknesses on it.
Yeah, and what I will say is, even though we're referencing a lot the Six Masters game between these two teams where Wildcard absolutely dumps at Akami, if you go a little bit further back into the Pro League Season 11, these teams actually did play Villa, and Akami won that 7-3. Now, obviously, Wildcard has made a lot of improvements since their 4th place finish in the Season 11 of Pro League, and it's been, a few months since then. That was back in March, but I will say that maybe Akami have something going for them here, because they do technically have the head-to-head on this particular map.
Well, it's looking to be a close matchup. Let's see what you folks at home think this one will result in. Let's have a look at that poll vote. 73% in favor of Wildcard. So the folks at home probably indicating a 2-0, but I'm not convinced it's going to be that one-sided.
Yeah, again, I think this is really going to come down to map number 1. And I think if Akami can come out strong right at the start, and I believe that they can, this is a really good map for them. They've got mixed results, but recently good results. I think that they can definitely put Wildcard on the back foot, and coming out strong on map 1 is totally what they need, not only to make sure that they get that map under their belt, because Clubhouse is going to be challenging, but also to establish and assert themselves against such a dominating force like Wildcard.
I think, of course, it's important to note that this is the upper bracket match, so both these teams do have a second chance. Even if they lose this series, they do get a second chance against the winner of our next match tomorrow. So it's not all but over if these teams lose, but again, you want to be keeping in that upper bracket, because if you make it to the grand final, you get a map advantage, and that could be massive.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you make it straight to the grand final after this one, then you don't have to go and play in the loser final, which means that there's less VODs for your opponent to practice against, and it also means you get to spend most of your Sunday morning just kind of chilling out and preparing for the game, maybe doing a warm-up scrim if that's your thing. Whatever your ideal practice routine is, you get to decide that. Instead of fighting for your life to stay in the tournament through that lower bracket, you get to spend that entire time just watching the enemy and figuring out how to beat them, and you get that map advantage. So yes, this isn't do or die for either of these teams, but in a lot of ways, I actually think it might be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We know Wildcard, for example, are a team that are extremely structured. It's pretty clear that they do their homework, and they know exactly what they're going to be facing. And if they can cruise through that upper bracket, that grand final will be so tough to play against, because there's going to be so much intel. They have the map advantage. Yeah. They're already a scary team as is. So Akami really, really will be pushing hard for that win today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're looking at this mostly from Akami's perspective, right? Because for Wildcard, we have such high expectations. And yes, that has some pressure, but for the most part, it's not them that necessarily it needs to prove themselves. It's definitely Akami here. And these guys have been, 3rd and 4th in every tournament locally for season upon season, whether that's Pro League or even Six Masters, like I mentioned on stage at Melbourne Esports Open last year. They were within 2 rounds of beating Wildcard and heading to the grand final against Fnatic. But Akami is kind of like a bridesmaid story, over the bridesmaid, never quite the bride. Well, it's always been Wildcard that stands in their way, and always these two teams that have had that feud, Wildcard's consistently coming out on top. So Akami, look, you've beaten Wildcard in the Pro League before for a regular season match, but here we are at a finals event. You've got to take them down now to keep yourself alive in the tournament.
And I think it's not only the stakes that will make this game interesting, it's probably their contrasting playstyles as well. I think it would be fair to say that Okami are a little bit looser, a bit more aggressive. Wildcard tend to be more structured, particularly on their attacks. They explode in the last 30 seconds. How are you expecting these heads to clash? Because it could make for a pretty intriguing lineup or intriguing matchup.
Yeah, I'm particularly looking out for Wildcard's attacks, as you mentioned. They're a really methodical team, and as is often the problem for methodical teams, they can slow down, and it means that if they spend too much of the mid-round maybe getting delayed by aggressive players from the defenders or maybe passive players from the defenders, which means that the attackers can't make so much progress, it means that in the last few seconds, Wildcard, like you mentioned, they're trying to explode onto site with whatever 30, 15 seconds left. But if they don't have the necessary preparation, the necessary walls opened, breached, whatever it is the players picked, then it means it's very difficult, and Okami can steal that on top. So I'm looking at Okami here and saying, can you slow down Wildcard as much as possible? Don't give them free picks. Ensure that you maintain a man advantage well late into the round. And I think that's when Okami is going to start seeing these rounds slide their way at the end of it when that execute comes out from Wildcard.
And I don't think there's too many more maps that will highlight that, like Villa, right? It's a map that typically, no matter who's playing, especially on the attack, it takes a hell of a lot of time to set up your attack, and then often you are forced to filter through chokes. So if Wildcard do struggle in that department, and Okami can try and play into that and really shut them down, then maybe we could see the momentum swing their way.
Yeah, for sure. And like for Okami on their attacks as well, it's quite challenging to know exactly the best way to counter Wildcard when you're attacking, because they do play fairly diversely on their defense. Like Wildcard, one round they'll play like a heavy anchor strategy like we saw on Clubhouse against Knights yesterday. They didn't try and go for any roams on the basement. And then on another one, you'll have like players going really aggressive. You'll have people trying to frag out. Like, what was it in the Six Masters? I think it was week 1 against Sinister. Geo got an ace on Theme Park just by running around roaming. So it's so difficult to contain Wildcard, and that's why we're looking at Okami here to take this.
Well, it's time for the first matchup of the afternoon. It's Okami taking on Wildcard in the upper bracket. The map is Villa Dev. This one should be an absolute banger.
Time to jump in. I am so keen for this, guys. It is a rematch, and we see these teams rematch every other day, and it doesn't seem to be that we have an idea of who's going to win it each time. You know, Wildcard won it by a very shallow margin last year at the Six Masters, and then in the Pro League, Okami won it, and then back in the Six Masters in the league phase this season, Wildcard won it again. Now, if that pattern continues swinging back and forth, Okami would take this, right? But there's definitely a huge challenge ahead of them, and we wouldn't expect them to necessarily be able to take on Wildcard in such top form.
Thatcher and Maverick will be the two bands here on the attack. Nothing too wild here in ANZ. Thatcher, a favoured band by both teams. Maverick as well can be quite popular on some of these maps, such as Villa. So attacking is not going to be any easier. Valkyrie will be followed up there by Okami on the defense. So there will be some intel denied for these defenders.
Yeah, probably the Maestro here too. No, a Clash. Okay, I like that. I was going to predict the Maestro. Thatcher Maestro has been Wildcard's staple bans for quite some time, but we've seen a lot of teams ban Clash against Okami on Villa because of Mangoes. He's really good, particularly on that stat bomb site, playing really aggressive with that Clash. But for Okami here, you're banning out Valkyrie and Maverick, which are the exact two bans that they banned against Wildcard on Consulate when they played during the season. Now, obviously, Consulate and Villa are fairly different maps, but in particular, that Valkyrie is an operator we see Ethan take up the mantle of quite frequently and to quite a lot of success. And when Wildcard have the information, oh my God, you just can't contain them. Once they know where those players are, they can definitely hunt them down and definitely make it so difficult to lodge a successful attack. But with that Valkyrie gone, Pat's going to jump on the Pulse, another operator which Wildcard can use to leverage that info. And I expect to see Pat engaging in a couple C4 plays and giving a lot of information out to the other Wildcard players, probably Jaeger, which is Ethan, to get aggressive and make some plays off the back of that info.
Well, Dining and Kitchen will be the first site of choice here for Wildcard, and that may turn some heads. In most cases, if you're logging into some casual or ranked, Kitchen is probably not going to be the first site selected, but in competitive play, it's definitely seen a rise in popularity, and rightly so. Many teams will extend above, and Wildcard looking like they will do so. They've invested some castle barricades, Goyo shields, and maybe some mute jammers. Actually, no, they're going to be placed below, but This is not going to be easy for Akami to clear, and again, it's going to take time, which is a very, very precious commodity, particularly here on Villa.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a trend in competitive play of picking the downstairs bomb site so that you can have some kind of presence upstairs and then back off. We see it a lot on Cafe, where teams will take the reading bomb site but have a lot of pressure at Cocktail and then back off, and it's a really nice way to delay time. We mentioned that's very much on meta at the moment, but looking at the Akami lineup here to attack this one, it's very much exactly identical, the same as what they used against Sinister yesterday. So you got the two roam clearing utility operators of Jack Daddy on the Dokkaebi and Cutie on the Jackal, and then some good soft breach as well with the Jackal's shotgun and Ippy styles. Ash breaching rounds, but of course, those breaching rounds are the only things that can destroy Geo's Vulcan shields. So you're looking at Akami maybe being potentially a bit short on util. And where's that first breaching round go? I don't think that... I didn't manage to quite see where that went. Pretty tough to tell when he's upside down. But okay, so that is not used on a Vulcan shield, which means that Wildcard will... I mean, Akami don't have a way to get rid of both shields anymore. One of them will definitely stay up, at least.
At this stage, it doesn't even look like Akami are pushing from above, so maybe those shields will be a little bit redundant, but Jack Daddy and Mangoes, who are playing below, have been spotted out by Pat playing that pulse. Jacob, meanwhile, pushing horizontally from Library, trying to find an entry onto that ping. Could pre-fire it, but Geo is protected behind that wall playing on that Goyo shield. I mean, Hatch rather has been popped as well, so he can rotate. Joker really struggling to clear this position, and again, Wildcard just wasting a lot of time, but if your style will get the frag, a great trade from Ethan, though, will leave it in a 4-on-4.
This pantry push being thwarted right now from Ethan to find one player and, of course, to refrag Ippy style. And look at how aggressive Ethan's getting here. He just backs himself in that fight and he wins it. Now we're just looking at Joker and Cutie to salvage. With 1 minute to go, Wildcard, they understood where Akami was coming from. And they decided, look, instead of just waiting for it to happen, let's fight back.
A confident start here for Wildcard. Akami left in a 2-on-4, diffuser down. Oh, C4 will light up Cutie a little bit there. As Joker tries to get a pick over towards the Astro stairs, but Emorin just shuts him down. Cutie left in a 1-on-4, 35 seconds left, Devon. This round has really not gone the way of Akami. Cutie will enter. He will be dropped, and that's a great start to round number 1 here in Villa.
Yeah, wow. I really love the fact that we saw Akami decide, look, let's not go for that top-down take. Wildcard have a lot of utility upstairs, and instead, let's just primarily focus on doing a pantry push with 2 players pinching from Living, and they even got that opening pick. They took down Geo, who was that roamer in Living, the Goyo. But straight off the back of that, we had Ethan go up and refrag that player that was Ippy style pushing through Living, and then get back to side. And despite the fact that pantry had already been opened by Mangoes the Hibana, Ethan's just like, look, I backed myself in this fight. I'm going to take that first one. And then after that, I'm going to take that second one. Like, I mean, yeah, I hate that my analysis is Ethan just decided to take fights, but it's accurate here. And I think it tells you something about the mental state of Wildcard. They're not really showing Akami any respect right now.
I mean, that's scary. If you're Akami and you have a Jaeger running at you, you're going to be scared, right? Ethan is just popping off. He's not afraid to take on any gunfight. And that's going to start putting doubt in the minds of these fraggers on Akami. We might see Ippy style slowly getting shut down. And that will really have a flow-on effect to the rest of the team. And they might struggle to find these opening picks like they did in that last round.
The one thing I will say for Akami is if they lose a round because of a lot of aggression from Wildcard, then you can start to play into that. You can be like, okay, we know that Ethan just wants to peek everything, right? So expect the peeks, pre-aim every angle, play maybe a little bit slower so that you're going to convert those aggressive players from Ethan into free picks for your team. And that's huge, right? If you kill Ethan, put yourself in the numbers advantage, which Akami only maintained for about 4 seconds that round after that opening pick, right? But the problem is, for Wildcard, they can just change their play style on the flip of a hat, really. So they've got that one round, they can put that in the bank, and then start to play passive.
The thing in that round that really stood out to me was the fact that Wildcard invested so much utility above. We saw the Goyo shields, the reinforcements, the castle barricades. The list was almost endless. But we didn't see any of that cleared at all by Okami, and rightly so. They went for a horizontal take. They didn't really need to get above control, but in the end, it just didn't work. They were forced through those chokes. Wildcard adapted on the fly, and it really showed.
I hate that we don't really get to see this because you can't always. I mean, everyone talks about how in Rainbow we always credit the fraggers. Like I've been talking about Ethan, but I haven't been talking about Pat, right? Well, you're like, okay, well, what did Pat do that round? He didn't get any kills. Yeah, but he's playing the Pulse. He was playing in the objective, and he can pulse out the pantry where 2 players are pushing. He can pulse out laundry to see if there's anyone pushing from that angle, and if not, then you can just not worry about it. He can also pulse out, use a cardiac sensor to detect if there's anyone on the master balcony, and as soon as he sees no one up top, 2 pantry, or I think it was 3 pantry, right? And there's no one laundry, then he knows he can call that to the rest of the team. The players upstairs are like, well, we don't need to be up here anymore. Pat will call if someone comes back up top. They rotate down, and if you know that there's 3 players in pantry, it's probably going to be a horizontal push, and the Goyo of Geo is calling out that there's players pushing him living. So immediately, on the back of just a little bit of info from the Pulse, and also Geo calling out that he was pressured in living, Wildcard knows where all of the players from Okami are, and they can just completely change their investment of their manpower to accommodate that. And that's what enabled Ethan to get that long flank, and also for Wildcard to be prepared for that pantry push.
And it's not unprecedented for teams to bring a Pulse to Villa, right? We see teams bring it quite often. But it's the fact that Wildcard are able to really use that information quickly and efficiently, right? So many times we'll see teams bring that Pulse. Maybe the communication isn't quite there or the adaptation, and teams would have stayed above. Okami would have gotten control, but Wildcard, almost like a flick of a switch, they were straight back on site. We saw players rotating towards like the living area to stop that push. Okami just were like almost caught off guard, I feel, not expecting that rotate to be so quick. But it's not unprecedented. Wildcard, time and time again, will adapt plenty throughout a map.
It makes you wonder, Okami, right, banning the Valkyrie to try and prevent a bit more info gathering from Wildcard. But Wildcard are like, yeah, it's fine, we don't want Valkyrie, we got Pulse anyway. Like, maybe Okami should have banned out the Pulse. Like, it does beg the question, right? But I think one of the distinctions here is, if you're playing against a really good player, like someone like Ethan, the feeling that you have when you die to that is like, oh, damn it, I died. I can't win a gunfight against this player. The distinction between that and playing a really good team is when you're playing against a really good team, you feel like you are always in a 1 versus 5. And that's exactly what it would have felt like for every single Okami player right then. Because everywhere that Okami decided to push, Wildcard knew about it, and they always pushed it back. And it was beautiful. I loved it.
I know you love some good players, Dev, don't you? Some good teamwork. Let's put our heads or our minds sort of in the Okami camp, because we've established what Wildcard are doing, right, and how they're approaching this map. Of course, they can't go kitchen next. It's likely going to be AVG, or it's going to be a deer or a trophy, whatever you want to call it. What do Okami need to do this round to try and counter this sort of adaptable playstyle that Wildcard is bringing?
Couple of things you could do. You could try and bring in IQ and spot out that Pulse, but a lot of the places that the Pulse will be playing will likely be indestructible, so you won't necessarily be able to shoot them, but at least you'll know what info Wildcard has. I would love to see the aggression from Wildcard be met with some baiting from Okami. I'd love to see Okami kind of maybe put a player in a position where Wildcard thinks, hey, this is a freebie, let's go for it, and then there's actually an Okami player waiting to capitalize on that kill. But of course, that means that Okami has to deny some of the information from Wildcard, and they have to have good information themselves. And while there is some good information gathering operators on the attacking side, in particular the Jackal and the Dokkaebi, it's very difficult to counter the info gathering from the Pulse. Like with the Valkyrie camera, you can spot it on IQ's electronics detector, and you can shoot them, and you know exactly what info they do and don't have. But with the Pulse, like, yeah, you can see it on the electronics detector, but you just don't know really if you're going to get, if you're on the Pulse's cardiac sensor, it's so difficult to kind of really contain that, and he can be on 2 floors below and see you up top. Like, it's just crazy, and that info gathering from Emo, I think, is going to really help Wildcard here.
I think one thing to highlight as well is the fact that Mira has slipped through the ban phase. Neither of these teams typically play Mira, often banning her, but that could, of course, open up the map a little bit here and help hold some of these choke points and fortify them even further. I mean, Miras, of course, are prone to being countered from below, and Villa's no exception. A lot of the floor below these choke points is destructible, so if teams opt to bring her to the table, they will need to be mindful of that. But so far, Wildcard haven't brought her to the table, and I'm probably expecting them not to, right? If they keep banning her and not really selecting her a whole lot, don't think it's gonna be too different tonight.
Yeah, and it really is about Mira needs to complement your hold. And at the moment, it doesn't really. Like, if we have a look at what Wildcard are doing right now, it's something that's very much on meta here in ANZ at least, which is this extended hold into the closet with castle barricades to protect the rotation hole between Master and, yeah, thank you very much, MC, there. So you'll notice there's a rotate hole between Stat and Master with a castle barricade on the window to protect it. Diesel playing with his super shorty shotgun, the secondary shotgun, hard in the closet with lots of ADSs and potentially some magnets from Pat to protect him. And also Pat playing bathroom to prevent Mangoes from just jumping in the window. So this is a really good way to just stall out time. You can see Akami trying to address it, but with no frag grenades, it's going to be very difficult to clear that player out of the closet.
Akami will drone out that closet. ADS device on the floor may have already been expended. It looks like it may have been the red light, not bright, as Geo will get that first pick. Mangoes, though, will get Pat living it at a 4-on-3, and they have successfully cleared this position. Diesel inside of that closet shut down without finding a kill dev, and now Akami will have that man advantage.
Really lovely stuff. And yeah, as you mentioned, the closet is clear, so Akami can now take that ground. But that said, Imarin is still downstairs, and he has the C4 in pocket. Geo to find his second on the round as well onto Iffy Style. That was the player aggressive at the door between Stat and Master, and now he's just playing these long angles. You'll notice Wildcard have actually completely forfeited Astro because Pat has died as well, and now we're looking at Akami with 50 seconds left trying to mount this push.
No pressure on landing. Leaves Geo in a great position, but Joker will shut him down. That's a great pick. Ethan trying to get aggressive to find a trade. X-Kairos on the wall. Ethan does find a down, but Joker cleans him up. Emo in left in a 1-on-3, and Okami will answer back here on round number 2.
Lovely stuff from Akami. It did start with that clear of the closet and that early man advantage with 1 minute 20 left on the clock. We were in a 4 versus 3 for Akami, and the last 3 wildcard players decided to keep on peaking. And while I will acknowledge that Geo found 2 picks from taking those aggressive lines, Ethan only got an injure. And when you're in a numbers deficit, yes, aggressive peaks can be the way to go to try and claw it back onto your side. But when you're in a numbers deficit like that, and I mean, Geo had just died as well. So the 2 last players, Diesel and, sorry, no, it was Emo and Ethan. Those last 2 players, like, they have to be either not playing too aggressive, or if they are playing aggressive, you need to land those shots so that you can call the numbers back onto your side. And unfortunately, that just didn't happen. Akami, really good work to punish that and ensure that they didn't let Wildcard wrench back that numbers advantage. And overall, nice first half of the round from Akami to clear the closet, and then just finishing the job, I guess, by suppressing that aggression.
Wildcard deciding not to reattempt that site, so we'll see the 3 primary sites 3 rounds in a row. A full round the world trip almost. Assuming these teams, of course, don't head to library later in the map. We have seen some teams go there, LFO namely, but they're not in the playoffs, unfortunately, so we may not see it again.
I mean, I would love to see a library pick. I'm super keen on those unusual picks, but I don't think it's going to happen from Wildcard or Akami. But hey, the last round between Akami and LFO, the round that spelled Akami's loss on that map, was LFO picking that bomb site. So hey, Wildcard, if you want, if things get dire, give it a shot. Of course, it does mean they have to have a pre-prepared strategy for it, and wouldn't be surprised if Wildcard don't have a strat for that site.
Single reinforcement there on the triple wall, I believe. So we might see an extension over towards Trophy here from Wildcard. So there we go. It is sort of blocking that rotation from Astro back towards the site. It's up to Akami to try and pinch out these positions. Wildcard, I think, again, just trying to soak up as much time as possible. We see Pat here on the Jaeger. I'm not sure if he really has any assistance here. I think Ethan's playing below. Could be a bit of a slow trade, though. A risky strat, and Pat will forfeit that position.
At the moment, Pat's just delaying time shooting drones. As we look at the Akami side, Mangoes has lost a drone, Cutie's lost a drone, Joker and Jack have also lost drones. So Ippy Style, the only one with both left. And I like this. You know, Wildcard haven't lost a player. They've delayed 1 minute. Still not a lot of control for Akami. They're still trying to clear out downstairs. And Jack's just lost his second drone now as well. So he's going to be relying on his teammates' drones or that Dokkaebi call, both Dokkaebi Logic Bombs, to try and get info. So I like the fact that Akami still have some util for info gathering with the Jackal and the Dokkaebi, but they're just running out of drones here, and Wildcard aren't really losing anything for it.
Halfway through the round, Akami trying to establish control on the opposite side of the map. Ethan is still roaming below, yet to find a pick. Not sure if he's been spotted, but he could be on for a very late flank if Akami don't have the drones positioned. And I mean, Wildcard still have such strong players on site. Diesel here on the smoke. We've known him to be so strong on this operator. Give him the license to kill, and he will, but Ippy gets the opening pick. Diesel being a little bit more aggressive, trying to maybe deny that plant or getting the diffuser in towards site. Akami, though, are taking their time.
But with 45 seconds left, Mangoes has opened up the angle that exposes Vault through Study. So he can play safe on this balcony and enable that Vault plant by covering anyone in Vault trying to peek out and wide swing an Aviator. So that's a really good pick. But with Ethan still below with a C4, he's going to whip that up. He can find 2 kills. That's Cutie and Joker gone down. And now that man advantage has slipped right through the cracks for Akami.
20 seconds on the board, and Jack Daddy falls as well. It's Ippy and Mango's now left, 2 on 4. It's looking dire this round for Akami. Such a great play from Ethan to get Wildcard back into it. Mangoes, he'll be dropped. It's now Ippy who's in sight to find 3 more if he wants any chance of taking the round. But then he has 3 seconds left. The smoke lighting him up as well. This round is unwinnable, and Wildcard will take it in the end.
Overall, a really slow strategy there from Wildcard, which I really liked. They didn't overextend too much. It was Pat and Ethan roaming fairly safe. They were trying not to expose themselves to any actual entry fraggers, but they just shot drones. Now, with over half the round gone, there was 1 minute 10 remaining, and there were only half the drones left for Akami. And that includes all of the drones that Akami would have set up for flank watch and rotation watch as well. So that really leaves not very many drones at all, maybe 1 or 2 at best for Akami to actually drone out sight. And most of those were actually on the entry fraggers like Ippy Style. Now, even though Akami got that opening frag, it was Ippy to take down Emo, who I believe was playing in Study. Wildcard was still in such a strong position because Akami didn't have that much info. Yes, they had the Study wall open into Aviator, which meant they could kind of enable that Vault plant, but they didn't have the drones to drone out or spot out Ethan on that rotation downstairs, and they also didn't have enough manpower to flush someone down there to prevent that C4. And then, as you mentioned, that double kill C4 from Ethan was absolutely the moment where Wildcard sealed the deal for themselves in the round.
Wildcard will now head back to Kitchen, and there's a couple of red flags that I noted during this operation selection phase. Pat, he revealed the pulse, yet Akami still decided not to bring an IQ, at least to maybe spot out where Pat is playing and gathering that intel from. We saw on the very first round, Pat commanding the troops really and telling Wildcard to reposition. He knew they were going for a horizontal take. No one was above. And if Akami do the same here, Pat's going to know about it, tell the rest of his team again, and it's going to be tough for Akami to readjust.
It's so hard because even if you do have that IQ here against the Pulse, like, what are you going to do? You know, you see him and just look at him, wave at him through like 4 solid walls, right? And it's so hard, right? Because you're Akami right now and you're like, oh, if it's a Valkyrie, then we at least like, the Valcam needs line of sight to really have an impact, but no, Pulse can just do it through these solid walls. Like, look at that. He's already spotted out the player on the pantry window and the player on the pantry stairs window, I guess you could call it. And Pat's just going to keep giving that info. He checks laundry again, sees there's no one there. He can look upwards as well to see if there's anyone Master Balk. But for now, like, Pat's basically calling out to his team these positions. And Wildcard are thinking, well, it's exactly the same that Akami did last time. So let's just play exactly the same. We should be fine.
Wildcard won't know it, but the diffuser is on those pantry stairs. I believe Mangoes did vault in before jumping onto that drone. And there we go. He's going to open the wall. Diffuser in hand. I think it's muted. That's why only 2 of those X-Kairos will detonate. Places 1 higher and to the right to try and detonate more as he is trying to get a hole that can be entered. He uses all 3 of his charges in achieving that feat. Look at that. Pat is once again just chilling there, given the call that he is sitting on the stairs.
And that's a really good adaptation from Wildcard with that Mute Jam, as you mentioned. I believe previously we saw Ippy-style repelling Pantry Window use an Ash breaching round to destroy the Mute Jammer right on the wall, and that's why they've put it in Dining, actually, and it's just Mute Jamming through that solid wall, and that's why there's only this half angle exposed. But if Mangoes can land this shot here on Diesel, it might make a difference. Doesn't land enough to get the kill, and wow, Diesel's going to keep peeking that. Got to be careful. He does scare off Mangoes for now, but that's probably about as greedy as Diesel should get in this position, because even though Wildcard have tons of info, well, Jack Daddy's just thrown sight and called out those players as well, and Akami are actually really well positioned for this execute. Still 5-on-5. As I say that, Geo to open things up.
Emo Rin has repositioned to the bottom of these Astro stairs, aware that Akami are going once again for a horizontal take. He's ready and waiting for Joker or Ippy-style to peek that bike store. Joker repositioning a drone, maybe trying to find some intel as Ippy-style gets aggressive, running the G36 with ACOG, only half the clip. So he might be able to find one. He'll struggle to find any more. Probably needs to reload. Either way, though, Wildcard do seem ready. 30 seconds on the board, and I think it's going to be a bloodbath again here for Akami.
Well, let's see how well this Bolo Charm serves Diesel. Not well enough, it seems. Cutie to find one, and the numbers are just falling. It's all on Ethan. He's taken out on site. Just Geo left. He started things off for his team. He's in such a poor position. No C4 as well. He's only got to find two, though, and that diffuser is down on the ground. Caught out by the angle from Joker, and that is finally Akami to break that defense at Kitchen Dining.
It all fell apart in the end there for Wildcard. It was a great early and mid-round, but the aggression from Okami couldn't be tamed. Ippy-style again on that entry, proving too strong. Those anchors on site, never really standing a chance. Wildcard, though, they're confident that they can reattempt that bomb site, and let's see what they bring to the table to try and shut this down.
What I find curious that round is we noticed Ethan actually jump off of the Jaeger that he'd previously been on that for that objective and jump on the Mozzie instead. Now, not only does that maybe suppress a little bit of his fragging potential because of the gun's not quite as good, doesn't have quite as large a mag, but also, Wildcard are clearly trying to lean into that information denial more so than the projectile denial, which is fair enough. Like, the projectiles weren't super impactful from Akami in either of those kitchen attacks, but the info didn't seem to be denied that effectively, because we noticed Jack Dad in the mid to late round droning out sight, and while that didn't enable a kill, Geo actually managed to punish him afterwards. Akami clearly figured out where Wildcard were playing and managed to counter that pretty effectively. So, ooh, here we go. That's a nice adaptation. An Electroclaw, if the Mute Jammer doesn't do it, the Electroclaw in a place that cannot be destroyed from an Ash charge, that is a perfect adaptation here for Geo. Really nice stuff, and I think that alone will probably prevent Akami from actually opening up that pantry wall.
Part of me really hopes that Okami finds a way to clear that Electroclaw, and then Wildcard go into endgame mode and do another adaptation, because we've already seen, what, 2 so far? And they are not afraid to bring things out here to try and shut down Okami. I guess the question is, will Okami go for this vertical take? Every single time it's been horizontal. 1 win, 1 loss so far. Maybe now's the time to go above and try and throw Wildcard off.
I love that skin combo from Jack Dad, just saying. The attachment skins really open up a lot of options, for your weapons. Anyway, what I was going to say is that even though that Electroclaw is really nice at denying that pantry wall, funnily enough, Akami, despite starting off for a pantry take last round, they actually didn't execute through pantry at all, and the last player from Wildcard was just sitting in pantry and ended up dying. So it goes to show that for Akami, pantry isn't the be-all, end-all, so that single Electroclaw might not actually make the difference. Now, if you're Pat right now pulsing out the site, you're noticing that, okay, there's actually no one outside pantry right now. That's why he's rotated here to check for the landing presence. He sees one, and Akami right now are very clearly going for this top 4 presence. This C4 could make the difference, but no, that proximity alarm to call out that position and make the attacker a little bit more wary. Jack Daddy backs off, and now Pat's wasted a C4.
Still has that cardiac sense, though, gathering a lot of intel once again for his team. Wildcard will, I'm sure, shape up for this vertical take. We haven't seen it yet from Okami. As I mentioned, the last 2 were horizontal, so this is a big change up for both teams. Castle will be scanned by the Jackal, as Diesel will actually find a C4 there on to Jack Daddy. Oh, that's a nice shot by Cutie, shutting down Emo Rin. Another C4 comes out from Wildcard. That's 3 this round, 2 kills resulting. And that is quite a harsh start here for Okami.
I do like the decision here from Akami to go for a top floor take, especially because this is the one round where Wildcard aren't actually stacking that Goyo shield and ADS is upstairs, so a bit less utility to defend this top floor, and Akami have taken advantage of that. But of course, the C4s, like, you know, Wildcard don't have to be on the top floor to contest the top floor if they have those C4s. Now we're looking at Akami, 50 seconds left, trying to convert this and get a numbers advantage. They've got the map control, but not a lot to do with it, trying to open up the floor. But Wildcard are sitting in positions that can't be shot from above, like Pat here, or at least it's very difficult to shoot from above, and Akami maybe a bit lacking here on soft breach.
Or Ippy Style gets shut down at Bike. That's Ethan going on a tear. Diffuser down. Gumine will be placed on that to shut that down as Joker will team kill Cutie. That's a big boo-boo from him. Leave it now in a 1-on-4. Proximity going off. Ethan will net the kill, and Wildcard will shut down that attack.
Love it. I mean, we talked about adaptations there, and we mentioned mainly the Electric Claw, but since Akami didn't go for that pantry take, it didn't really matter. But that wasn't the only adaptation that we saw from Wildcard in that round. And in particular, the Legion, right? The Legion was another way for Wildcard to get information, and probably better than the information denial of the Mozzie that Ethan had previously. And in particular, the fact that Wildcard maintained that living presence late into the round meant that when Akami finally thought, okay, look, Ippy Style in particular, I'm just going to go through mud and try and take from that side, take from that horizontal side. Well, in the previous rounds, Akami had taken that ground quite thoroughly. In this round, they didn't, which meant that Ethan was still allowed to roam there in the late ground, and the Operator Legion is just the perfect one to hold that kind of ground there, chuck those goo mines and the choke points, especially once you get the kit down. The Diffuser is on the ground. You stack up those goo mines, it's pretty much impossible to recover. But Wildcard done a pretty good job at recovering this half so far. That said, Akami still with 2 rounds on the board is a pretty decent position. So I think it's all going to hinge on this final round and the half here, guys.
Of course, if you are just joining us, this is the first map in a best of 3 for the upper bracket between Okami and Wildcard. Villa here was Okami's map pick, despite them only picking it once throughout the regular season. And in fact, they lost it twice throughout that season. So you'd say on paper they didn't have the best form. But yesterday they managed to take down the Knights. And as you alluded to, so far 2-3 has been a pretty solid start, especially against Wildcard, who have been bringing probably the most adaptation I have seen in the first 5 rounds of any Villa map ever in my life. So I think they're doing a great job so far.
This is why I just love watching Wildcard. And look, I love watching both of these teams, but in particular, like the way Wildcard adapts round to round is just beautiful to watch. And especially, you know, if I'm color casting, I just love to kind of nerd out about it because I actually, you know, I have some time. You know, I've got a license to nerd out, so I'm going to do that.
Again, Wildcard with a single reinforcement there on the triple wall, as Pat, again, will be tasked with burning some time. We saw him and Ethan playing off-site last time they did this strategy. Pat will default back to side a lot faster on this occasion. I believe Ethan is still over towards landing. All 5 members of the attack are pushing this side. Wildcard may or may not be aware. They don't have as much intel as they have had previously. No pulse on the board. Valkyrie, of course, has been banned. So they're just sitting and waiting, trying to feel this round out.
The Operator change for Wildcard this round is bringing that Legion instead of the Mute, which they brought on the previous defense of this bomb site. Ooh, that actually somehow tagged up Ippy Style through the wall there. But despite that Legion, I think the lack of a Mute means it's actually even easier for Akami to take this ground. And looking at the drone game, they've only lost 1 drone so far. Now, that's quite a contrast to the last time that Akami attacked this, where at 10 seconds remaining on the clock, so 20 seconds deeper into the round than this, they only had half their drones remaining. Now, you look at that, they've got 4 extra drones compared to this position last round. And that is a huge boon here for Akami's information gathering. And clearly, the lack of a Mute is helping them.
Haven't talked too much about the Dokkaebi, but Jack Daddy is sticking that pick. He played it quite a bit yesterday as well, offering some disruption and proving to be quite strong with that marksman rifle. This round slowly ticking down. 1 minute left on the board, and Okami do have a drone inside, gathering some intel. Ippy Style gets the first pick onto Pat. That's the Jaeger taken off the board. Shield's still in place though, so if they want to push this hallway dev, they will probably need to try and clear this.
But Ethan's in a tough position here. He needs to land a shot here. Geo, though, Find that first one. That's a huge pick as well. It's the only hard breach that Akami have on the table. And that's going to leave both of the study walls soft and that 90 wall soft as well. Sorry, I mean completely hard, not soft. And so it's so difficult now for Akami. And oh, that's just such a bad way to go for Ippy Style. Wildcard are clawing this one back. Ethan for another one. No one can stop this man, it seems. So much control now for Wildcard. Joker goes for broke. It's not going to happen. Wildcard to close out that half 4-2.
A great half for Wildcard. Akami just really struggling there on the entry for their final attack. But a 2-4 scoreline, not looking terrible for them as they head into their defense. I think the one thing that really stood out to me on that previous round is that adaptation we've seen in Classical Hall with the shield, the ADS to cover. It makes 90 even harder to push. Ippy Style didn't have any utility. He had no flashes left to clear that ADS, and that meant he couldn't Ash charge the shield, and he was a sitting duck. I'm expecting a pretty similar setup if and when Okami decide to go to with AVG, but Trophy and Stat will be their first side of choice.
It's funny, for a long time I was looking at Akami's push there and I thought, actually, they're doing a lot better this time. You know, they found the opening pick, which they did manage to do as well last time around on that same bomb site, but you know, they had much more drones available, and despite that, I think the turning point was really Geo finding that pick onto the Hibana of Mangoes, and also the fact that the Mangoes couldn't breach the walls into Aviator due to the fact that the Kaid and the Mute, sorry, just the Kaid was on the board to deny that. Meant that it was so difficult for Akami to do the strat that they wanted to take, which was a north side push with a little bit of study presence. And they kind of had to fall apart. Of course, also Ethan finding the pick onto Ippy Style at 90, and Ippy Style not being able to destroy that deployable shield meant that there was just another avenue completely blocked off for Akami. So overall, great stuff by both teams, I will credit, but Wildcard to steal that one away. Now, as you mentioned, we're moving over the half, and this should be familiar, guys. It's once again a closet hold, but this time Mangoes are filling that castle role, likely to play in the cubby, in the closet here. And, well, for Wildcard, they do have frags, which we didn't see from Akami. Let's see how they go clearing this out.
On the topic of Wildcard, Ethan going 8-2 to start off proceedings here, continuing on very strong form from the regular season. And before the playoffs, I sent out a little survey to the teams and got their thoughts on the matchups and got some fun facts. Funnily enough,
Kind of adorable.
It wasn't a spreadsheet. Actually, it did go into a spreadsheet. That's besides the point. Every single person from Okami, whether it be player or support staff, that answered the question, who do you see as the biggest threat player-wise heading into the playoffs? Guess who it was? Ethan. Every single person responded with at least Ethan. And so far, he has been pretty hard to shut down. So he's been given the Ash license and expect that to continue.
Love to see it. For Wildcard now, of course, trying to contend with this closet hold. Pat, I have actually never seen this before, but yeah, I guess you can stand on that if you rappel up and jump onto the, I don't know what you call this little, a bit of a coconut bar angle, I guess. It's pretty impressive there for Pat to keep his balance right on the edge there, but he's just watching for someone to rotate out of bathroom. But for now, it seems like actually everyone's backed off of this hold from Akami. Wildcard just about half a round gone, trying to drone that out, but I don't think they're still yet sure about where this presence is from Akami, but Pat to find that opening kill. That's huge there on that angle, and catches off the castle as he rotates back through Astro.
Of course, in competitive, there's no kill feed, or kill cam, rather. So Mangoes might not even know where he got deleted from, which is quite unfortunate for him. Either way, though, the rest of his team now need to hold strong. They have a minute and 15 seconds left on the board. Of course, Wildcard traditionally very structured. They take their time and often leave their pushes to the last 30 seconds of the round. Diesel, as always, will have that diffuser in hand on the Hibana. He's still on that balcony as Wildcard continue to drone things out, and this should get explosive like it always does, Dev.
50 seconds left. Diesel opening up not only a little angle on the wall, just to expose the feet of a player in Trophy. He sees it. Can he tap it? Oh, he whiffs so many shots. He doesn't land every shot. Bullets. Come on, Diesel. There we go. That's a bit better. At least Jack Daddy seemed to not know what was going on. Diesel's now got a good opening into sight, but Joker in a power position here. We need these anchors from Akami to hold.
Judy and Joker both in very key positions. Joker needs to swing wide and Will gets Diesel and the diffuser down. It's a 3-on-4. 20 seconds left as he tries to find another forced to reload the Org. Ippy Style is also there to help cover, and Wildcard could find themselves in a little bit of trouble. Not a lot of time on the board. Emo gets aggro, but gets shut down. It's a 3-on-3. Not long on the board, but there's the trade. How many more can he find? Only the one. And it's now Ethan left in a 1-on-2. I wouldn't put it past him, but he can't quite find that first pick. And Okami will take the round.
I was a bit worried there for Okami, but the anchors did indeed hold. After losing that first pick and Master and Closet control with still 1:20 left, so that's not actually too bad timing for Okami. Like, they only have to delay a little over a minute. And, well, they lost the second pick as well. It was Jack Daddy to go down in sight. And I've got to really put a bit of applause there to Joker to just hold on as long as he could. Despite that angle being opened into Master, he clearly wasn't droned out. He managed to get that kill with 25 seconds left on the clock onto Diesel in Master as he jumped in the window. And that also put the diffuser on the ground. So Joker knew that. He had such a strong position. He was just going to sit there and wait. He actually managed to get another kill before he was traded as well. So that's huge there from the anchors of Okami. And a really strong way to start their defense. We're only 1 round difference between these teams right now. And Okami can definitely bring it back.
Of course, Okami aren't privy to, or are privy rather, to close games here on Villa. When they versed LFO, it was a 7-8 loss, and then the second match against Sinister was a 5-7 loss. So we are expecting this one to go down to the wire. So far, it has been a very tight contest, particularly if Okami can secure this next round. That will even out the scoreline and put a little bit of pressure back onto Wildcard, who have seemed to be a little bit cruisy in the first half, able to play their game and really dictate the terms of this matchup. But if Okami can swing momentum, we could well see Wildcard forced to change up things even more.
Wildcard have always got an ace up their sleeve, and that is, in this case, the 6th pick from Hibana onto Montaigne. You'll notice that Joker put a couple of those Mozzie pests around Master to slow down that drone game from Wildcard, but hey, Diesel's basically a walking, talking, moving drone right now. Doesn't get shut down by those pests, so he can move on through, clearing up the closet first. He can enter in, but of course he does need to be really careful of C4s below. We do have a couple players from Okami's side with that C4 in the pocket, but I don't believe any of them are roaming downstairs at the moment. Of course, can always go down late, and we saw how impactful that was on this bomb site when Ethan took it. Got a 2K on the landing side.
Of course, we mentioned pre-game that maybe on these defenses, Okami would be ultra aggressive to try and shut down some of these setups that Wildcard like to establish in the mid-round. It's looking like Okami, though, are quite reliant, and rightly so, on their anchors, who have been doing their job really well, at least in that first round. So maybe they're not feeling the need to over-aggress. And I mean, with that Montaigne on the board, that isn't exactly going to be easy. Joker, if he goes for this pick, he could be taken down. He isn't, though. He skates away with full HP. Both players getting timed a little bit there, as Diesel is still teasing his landing push. Oh, he finds
Joker does re-peek, and there you go. Pack goes down. It's again the timing not for him, but spotting out the player, trying to get back to sight here is Diesel. Does he go for this? Does he chase it, or does he play more safe? That smoke does enable him to get that control. That's also the C4 down off Joker as well. So Wildcard 120 in a 4v5. And remember that they've got one less rifle on the board as well to Diesel with this Monty. And there's still 2 deployable shields to be cleared as well, and no study control. So Wildcard have to pull something out of a hat here.
Cutie's going to be key in this round, of course. He has those smoke canisters. Perfect in dealing with a Montaigne. They don't have a Legion on the board or any other trap operator for that matter, meaning that smoke will be incredibly important. Not only denying that plant, but denying any sort of rush in from Wildcard late round as Diesel continues to tease it, gathering intel. He sees the Mozzie to his right. As you mentioned earlier, they have no study control, which could prove costly.
Trying to clear out the player below is Ethan's breaching round, but Ippy Style is the first victim for Okami. Need to see Wildcard be really careful here. The plant's starting to go down. Diesel taking some damage, gets shot out on the crossfire. That's huge. Joker's had such a good round so far. Mangoes as well still has his C4. He needs to find the kill onto Emo to hold the ground. He does get it. That's the headshot. Now is such a strong position for Okami. Joker goes huge this round, all on Geo. Doesn't look possible, and by all rights, Okami should tie up the map here. Geo's not good enough to stop it from happening. There you go, Akami to tie up the map. 4 points apiece.
A great couple of rounds here from Akami and Joker, namely one of the ones spearheading these rounds. He's had a little bit of a quiet season, I would say. Not one of the top performers stat-wise, at least, here for Okami through the regular season, but so far here on Villa, he's had a very strong showing, getting a couple of key picks. Okami now rotating over towards dining and kitchen. This is going to be the first time that they have attempted this site. Of course, keep in mind Wildcard, that was the first site that they went to. So potentially Okami not quite as confident. We'll have to wait and see what they bring to the table.
Yeah, for wildcard there, the Montaigne clearly didn't work out so well. Wasn't, I mean, they took the ground. I wouldn't say that they took the Master and Stat and Trophy control faster than usual, like fast enough to warrant an entire Operator pick. But they got the job done eventually, I guess. But I also didn't die to a C4, which is always an achievement. But yeah, the fact that Joker was able to get that kill on Red Stairs and escape. I mean, imagine if that Montaigne was someone with a rifle. He could have punished Joker on that rotate. But no, it was Akami to have a good roam game. Very successful, and then a great anchor game as well. Now let's see. This Muchammer, thank you, MC, highlighted this particular pantry wall on the wildcard defenses and the various ways that wildcard dealt with that, electrocores, etc. But of course, as we noted, that particular wall is only really impactful if the attackers go for a pantry-centric push. Wildcard, there's no telling just yet. Maybe there is. I don't know. They're spawning here.
Potentially. Okay, we are going to see the Pulse and Jack Daddy gathering intel, and they'll know that the pantry push is potentially coming.
Wow.
Oh, it could be a rush here from Wildcard. GS finds his way into sight. Diesel going for the plant. That's 2 kills for Pat. Okami unable to shut this down, unable to deny the plant. And just like that, it's now the post plant. Ippy Style is below. Cutie inside of Laundry. Neither great positions, and Ippy Style can't find that one. It's Cutie and Mango's left in a 2-on-5. 30 seconds left on that fuse. It's been an explosive round so far, and Wildcard have basically just decimated their opponents. It's just stat padding now for Mangoes, who finds 1, but he needs to find 4 more and counter defuse the bomb. It's not going to be possible. Okami really being stunned here on this kitchen defense. No answer at all, as Wildcard will bully them into the round lead, and there we go. They get that final pick. Emo Rin to close things out, and that was a great round from Wildcard.
I mean, it was really over before it started, wasn't it there? Great coordination from Wildcard. We mentioned the setup from Akami to prevent that pantry push. Wall was reinforced. There was a mute jammer in front of it. The castle barricade there to prevent the quick push in. But hey, Emo says, hey, I like this. This is a cute little barricade here. What if I just take my sledgehammer to it, smack it down, and then we rush into sight? Pat found 2 opening kills there. One of it was onto Jack Dad. I don't know whether the Pulse was on his scanner. I'm pretty sure he was around that point, but somehow Wildcard managed to evade him so that Jack Daddy couldn't call out that rush super fast. And once the players were in sight, forcing that plant down was Geo, or I think it was Diesel maybe. It was just absolutely nuts stuff there for Wildcard. But I will say for Akami, you know, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. I mean, I just don't think they can be fooled twice. Definitely not going to happen.
Wildcard is a team that typically doesn't really rush at all. Often, as I harp on, they take their time and play quite structured, but on that occasion it was an accelerated version, really, of the Okami push. It was over, as you mentioned before it started. Okami left stunned. But they can't be stunned for too long. If Wildcard managed to pick up this round, they will head on to match point. And that's when the pressure will really start to mount.
One thing that does concern me here for Akami as well is the fact that we're going back to Stat and Trophy, and this is a bomb site that Wildcard actually had a really strong take on. If you recall, Pat found that opening kill standing on top of... I mean, we need a call out for that skinny little balcony on the north side of Astro. I guess you could call it Astro Balcony, I guess.
I don't know.
He was cutting off the rotation from the bathroom. Yeah, here we go. Lovely. Thank you, MC. That tiny little... I guess you could call it gates. I don't know. There's a lot of gates on this map. Pat found that play. It was Mangoes who was previously holding the closet. But Akami have actually completely changed tack here. They're not bringing the castle. They're bringing the bandit and the Ella. And I wonder here whether Mangoes is intending to bandit trick the main wall. Might not need to. I'd also be curious to see where the Grishmots are from Cutie. To see what kind of a hold they're going to do to prevent Wildcard here from taking this control.
Of course, in Steel Wave, the Grismot mines were adjusted slightly, so the mouse sensitivity multiplier is no longer a thing, meaning that when you hit one, you can still move your sense normally. A little bit of a nerf, but Cutie can still use those to gather some intel on entries. Wildcard, though, they're pretty much full heading in towards bedroom, trying to get this master triple wall open. Diesel will use his X-Kairos potentially to try and open it. Mango's not really in a position to try and trick that, as he has been droned out, and crossing will probably be his death.
I want to know how Wildcard got the utility off the wall in the first place. Because there's no Thatcher, so what did they do to get rid of the Mute Jammer or Bandit Batteries on that wall? And I guess Mango's pick is basically ineffective here. Great control for Wildcard. Taking into Astro now. I don't know whether they realize it's clear. Ippy Style taken so low, and Pat to find that first kill. Jack Dad gone down. Everything's panning out here for Wildcard in the round.
1 minute to go. Emo Rin finds Mangoes. Ippy Style low on HP. This is looking like an incredibly difficult round here for Okami, and Ippy Style will be dropped. It's a 2-on-5 in the attacker's favor. Wildcard looking to close this one out, head themselves to match point, and it's looking closer and closer. Surely it's inevitable as Cutie is now getting pinched, I believe, from Astro. No, he's still safe for now, contesting that play Bedroom. But there we go. Astro will clean him up. It's Joker now left in a 1-on-5. He downs one as the plant goes down. Surely it's unwinnable if it sticks. Diesel will commit to it, and it's down. 45-second post plant. Joker at the top of landing, and not a whole lot he can do here, Dev.
You'll notice Wildcard rotate completely away. They know 4v1. They don't have to get super aggressive, but hey, I guess Emo says, shut up, Dev. I just want to finish this round already. That's SMG11 to close that one out. Oh my goodness. That was another dominating round for Wildcard. Far more dominating than I had expected. Took such strong control of Master so quickly, and to open up the wall into stat without really any contest, despite Akami bringing the Mute and the Bandit. Like, I don't quite know exactly what happened there. I don't know whether there were any Bandit batteries just static placed on the wall from the start that Wildcard had to clear out. But I mean, without the Thatcher, it's quite difficult to do that. You have to go below, you have to bring another operator, whatever. And Wildcard didn't do that to my knowledge. So I have to presume that Mangoes just hadn't put any static batteries down. He was trying to complicate it too much and just go for a trick. And I think that actually enabled the window of opportunity for Wildcard. And Diesel took that with both hands, got the X-Kairos on the wall. And I mean, that was just step one. Wildcard to start the avalanche there, find that man advantage and force down the plant.
The pressure now is mounting on Okami. Match point against them on their map pick. Of course, it is a best of 3 series. They're definitely not out if they lose this map, but they will then need to beat Wildcard on their map pick next, which would be Clubhouse. The odds are looking against them. Those last 2 rounds in particular have been incredibly dominant in favor of Wildcard. Okami being bullied here on Villa. Now is a better time than any to bring things back. They need to try and dictate this on their terms.
Look, guys, I was saying that if Akami are going to win this series, they have to win on Villa. Like, last time these teams played each other, Akami won Villa. Well, no, not last time these teams played Villa, that was. Like, last time these teams played each other, Wildcard dumped Akami. But, like, back in March, which is, you know, what is it? It's July now. What, March, April, June, July? Is that? No, that's May. March. There's May in there.
No.
It's not even maths, it's calendars, and I apparently can't even do that on broadcast. But like,
it's numbers.
A couple months ago in the Pro League, Akami and Wildcard played this map of Villa, and Akami won it. So you'd think that they'd have something going for them, but since then, as you mentioned, they've struggled with it a bit in the 6 Masters, lost it to Sinister and LFO. And Wildcard, we haven't seen quite so much on this map from them. They're clearly, I don't think it's just map specific. Wildcard is just absolutely in form right now, and it makes you wonder, right? If Wildcard can take this 7-4, 7-5 here on Akami's map pick, what's going to happen when we head over to Clubhouse, where Wildcard 7-0'd Pittsburgh Knights just yesterday?
Scary times here for Okami, but they do have an opportunity to bring this map back into overtime. They will need to win the next two. As Ethan enters below, he's had a cracking map so far. A cracking series and season rather as well. 9 and 5. He's been shut down a little bit in the last few rounds, but he's still been quite strong. Expect him to go below with that skeleton key and create some angles, try and flush out some of these players on site. Joker again here on red stairs. We saw him play this position previously, got a pick. His timing will need to be immaculate.
I like this from Emo, though. He's watching bottom red stairs from an angle in living, and now Joker's completely trapped. He can't peek up top red because Pat's watching, can't peek bottom red because Emo's watching, but he stops watching for 1 second. Joker could, in theory, win this gunfight. He's been such an impact player, currently rocking double digits. The flashbang goes out, and Joker loses his life for it. Emo finally to close it. Oh, that was so close there, but that does warrant Wildcard the early man advantage here. Maybe I shouldn't say early, 1 minute left, but Emo taken low for it as well.
Unfortunately, Jack Daddy was unable to trade that from 90 as he makes his way back towards site. Diesel, again, as always, will be tasked with tucking that diffuser under his arm, opening up the vault wall, and it's looking like they're shaping up for a default plant at that vault door. Again, this is the time where teams begin to start stalling out. Okami need to try and not be overwhelmed despite having that man disadvantage. Ippy Styles down below could find himself in a gunfight as Mangoes gets concussed.
Oh,
Styles finds
perfect.
the pick as the diffuser's going down. Diesel, will he stick it? It looks like he will. They can't deny it. No C4s on the board. The smokes don't hit the mark, and now it's a post plant here for Okami.
This retake is possible, though. Pat's going to pick himself up, withstand, but Ippy Style goes huge. He's found his third now. All on Geo and Emo. Emo's holding. He shuts down Ippy Style, but this retake is very possible here for Okami on match point. Wildcard, you've got to hold out.
Of course, it takes 7 seconds to counter defuse the bomb. Ooh. That's a nice aggression, though. Geo will vault in through the window in response. Can't find that pick. He's left in a 3-on-1. Hits the flick, and he needs to hold out now for another 12 seconds. Okami get the pick. Will they have time, though? They will. Mangoes gets the pick. Will disable the diffuser dev. Incredibly close there, but Okami keep themselves in it.
What a retake there for Okami, and you've got to credit the last two players for closing that out, but man, every single player there fought tooth and nail. Ippy Style to flank downstairs and find Ethan, that buck who was harassing the anchors from the vertical play, not only to find that kill, but to flank up and find those two players outside the bomb site as well on the vault door at landing. That was nuts. But finally, I mean, as well as that, Imorin trying to hold out for as long as possible, shuts down Ippy Style, but the players from Okami to continue retaking. No plant denial, so they couldn't play for the plant denial, but they had to retake, and they made it happen. So close there. You got to be so scared there for Geo, but within arm's reach now is overtime for Okami, and we've got to head there if they get a shot at taking this map.
6 picks coming out. Jack Daddy onto Pulse. Ethan onto Capital. So Pulse again should be given pretty free reign with no IQ on the board. Help gather intel, which has been key for both teams throughout, particularly on this bomb site. We have seen that Pulse typically gaining intel over towards the stairs here to the northeast. And that bedroom balcony, both of which are key positions if these attackers want to push, whether it be from above or horizontally. Keen to see how Wildcard approach it. We saw them rush it last time, but surely they won't try that again.
And you know, the thing about rushes, right, is it typically just works that one time. Lightning won't strike twice with that. But I do wonder, you mentioned the Capital pick for Ethan. It's the second time, only the second time, that Wildcard have changed their operators. Really, typically, you'll see that attacking lineups have almost exactly the same 5 for every single round, unless there's a pocket strat. But here, Ethan, he changed off the Ash for Bark last round. Now he changes onto the Capital. Does make you think, like, what is... He's got to be picking this for something specific, some kind of execute. Maybe the smokes, maybe with the fire. Jack is going to be getting that information, trying to discern what is this push from Wildcard, because he knows that Wildcard can catch him off guard, and that can be so detrimental.
Whoop! Jack Daddy exposes himself to the window, but gets away unscathed. Wildcard looking to close out this map, give themselves that 1-0 advantage. Okami desperately trying to win this round, head Villa to overtime, give themselves the best opportunity in this series. If it goes to the second map, it's looking like a rough ride for Okami if they're not in the lead.
This is a massive drone for Ethan.
Yeah.
That's huge. Like, Memorial is completely clear, and Wildcard know it now. They have a pre-placed in there that's unlikely to get spotted out. They can rotate and take that ground for free, and that'll have a pinch from both Pantry and Memorial. That would be so difficult for Okami to contest.
Talk about contesting. Jack Daddy still trying to clear Pat on this window. It's a very dangerous shot, particularly with the UMP. Both players holding strong, trying to cover the crosses as Jack Daddy is actually getting shot up there. Mangoes, though, could get him with the super shorty. Pre-fires the angle and finds the kill. That's the opening pick here for Okami halfway in the round. And Wildcard are now on that back foot.
Great adaptation there from Okami to spot out where that push was coming from. Realize, hey, we don't have anyone Memorial. Let's rotate for it and shutting down Emo there. Now Wildcard trying their best to get a grip. Pat the drone out the bomb site. There is a roamer downstairs. Ethan's watching for it. Mangoes could go for that long flank at Pantry, but he needs to make sure his teammates don't get taken out. In the meanwhile, Diesel only 1x Kairos left, so he can't make a full rotate into sight from Laundry. But Ethan does have this great angle here. Now, where will the util from the Capitale come out? Here it is. The Incendiary to prevent a peek from China. And now peeking on the long angle towards China through the soft wall. Doesn't land that shot, though. 40 seconds left for Wildcard here on match point.
Ethan being alive is scary as he finds the first pick. Ippy style caught off guard on the long angle, and Geo gets one as well. They're trying to close out this map, and it looks like that may well be the case, but Jack Daddy with a C4 will drop that dangerous player in Ethan, but he will be traded out. Cutie now left in a 1-on-3. Diesel, he's attempting the plant. Can Cutie deny he has a C4? Does he have the intel? He finds the first pick. Can he find the second? No, he will be shut down. Wildcard will take Villa in the end. What a map that was.
It came down to dire circumstances. Wildcard lost the opening engagement in that round, but they do take the map. Incredible stuff to claw back from that position. Great game overall from Ethan. In particular, I mean, we expect him to do that, right? Popping off on defense, popping off on attack. Overall, great team effort. Huge rounds from the Wildcard guys. It was very hard fought there for Okami, but that is their map pit taken from them.
And you alluded to this earlier, Dev, if they lose this first map, that just makes it so much more difficult to win this series. They'll be going to Clubhouse next. Yes, they decimated the Pittsburgh Knights 7-0, so they have some fantastic form. Yes, Okami probably watched that match and, have taken some notes, but, I mean, a 7-0, that's going to be pretty hard to shut down.
What I will say is I actually remember from the interview yesterday with Jack Dad from Okami, he was saying, look, we're really glad we took that with Sinister. Like, they didn't really break a sweat, but now we're just going to chill out and watch the games with Wildcard Knights. And he was definitely suggesting that he would be taking notes. So while we didn't see Villa yesterday from Wildcard, Okami may be going in a little bit blind to that game. They definitely won't be going in blind to Clubhouse.
How do you think Okami really played there on Villa? Yes, the score was close, but it felt to me like Wildcard, for the most part, had pretty good control of that match. Yes, Okami mounted a mini comeback, but then Wildcard, in their classic fashion, continued to adapt, really played the map on their terms, and managed to shut down Okami.
Well, the trend that we noted there between both of those halves was that the more rounds went by, the more things started to favor Wildcard. Like, if you look at Okami's defenses, they won the first 2 rounds, then Wildcard came back with 2 more. Okami finally gets one, but then Wildcard comes back. So you'll notice that over time, Wildcard's adaptation really allows them to, when they reattempt attacking or defending bomb sites, those necessary improvements to just tweak and change to counter-strat what their opponents is doing, that's what they're really good at. And that's why the games, when you're playing against Wildcard, they just get more and more difficult. So Okami going to continue to struggle with that, I think, on Clubhouse.
Well, Wildcard do get the 1-0 lead. On the other side of the break, it will be Clubhouse. We'll see you then.
Attackers dropped the diffuser. Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser. Seconds remaining. drop the diffuser. 2 seconds to go. Protect the diffuser.
Please hold. Your call is very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.
Check your memo, bro. Generation of destruction, you'll remember us. LSD used to do promethazine. I'm only THC, NSC is minor lean. We no longer up next on top. Let your girl when she counting my checks.
There's no defense, I'll buy it if I want it. I'm going supersonic, come on back for it. Alright, okay. Running out of luck, too much in my cup. Nishi, run it up. Why you always tripping like you top? Cause you not my team pop. Shawty, I know. Why you always tripping like you top? Cause you not my team pop. My team pop. You call my bluff for the last time. This ain't a song, it's a battle cry. No. strobe lights, I'm haunted. Black face, hey, follow me around, okay, black face, hey, follow me around, okay, used to want it bad, used to want it bad, but I can't taste it, I can't help you now, okay, follow me around, okay, black face, hey, follow me around, okay, push follow me around, okay, black face, hey, follow me around, okay, push got too much up on my plate, now I can't think. I said woke up to get extra, now I'm feeling this is it. Want the money, want the rest. I do purse, not no cess. They say Don is why you sad. I said I just
G'day folks and welcome back from the break. We're here for map number 2 between Okami and Wildcard in the upper bracket, and Dev, Villa provided some really high quality siege. Wildcard just edging out in the end to 7-5.
Yeah, really exemplary stuff. I love what we saw from both teams. I mean, Wildcard's the easy one to talk about because they're just so damn good. But there was some great flashes from Okami as well. In particular, a really, really good retake in the second last round of Aviator Games after Wildcard got that plant down. Super impressive stuff from them. And we saw a couple of good things on their defense as well. Some players going nuts, in particular Joker. Love to see that. So that said, Okami do have their work cut out for them here on Clubhouse. It's going to be a really tough one.
And of course, if you are just joining us, and it says in the ticker on screen right now, that was Okami's map pick. So they've lost their own pick. Heading into Clubhouse, that'll be Wildcard's pick for this series, and that makes things really, really difficult for Okami to try and mount a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, if you start digging into their history, we're talking about Wildcard, who 7-0'd this just yesterday. Albeit, this was the only map Wildcard has dropped in Six Masters so far, Clubhouse, back in week 3 against LFO. So maybe there's something going for Okami, but if you want to look at recent results and weight that accordingly, 7-0 over Knights just yesterday. That's a toughie for Knights. I mean, for Okami.
Of course, events like these wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. So we'd like to give a massive shout out to the team over at Samsung Australia. Thanks to them, all of the participating teams will be receiving one of their high performance NVMe SSDs. And of course, you guys at home can get involved in one of their offers. They're offering $148 cash back on SSDs at participating retailers. If you want more details, just type !SSD in the chat and that'll give you everything you need. Dev, let's start preparing for the second map. It's going to be Clubhouse. Wildcard coming off a 7-0 against the Knights, so Okami really have their work stuck up against them.
Yeah, and look, digging into Okami's results on Clubhouse, the most recent time they played it was in Six Masters, and that was a really, really hard-fought 8-7 victory over Ferox. And if you go from Okami barely winning that game to Wildcard dumpstering Knights, it does make you a little bit worried overall for Okami, especially since this isn't a map they play a lot of. Like, that one game against Ferox is the only time they played it in Six Masters.
Let's do a quick recap of the poll vote before we continue this discussion. Of course, you guys at home were heavy favorites for Wildcard. There we have it on screen. The vote would indicate, again, probably a 2-1, but as we're mentioning, heading to Clubhouse, that's looking more and more unlikely.
Yeah, like I was saying at the start of the series, I think if Okami takes this series, it's because they win map 1. Now, that said, they might have expected Wildcard. They probably would have expected Wildcard to pick Clubhouse. It tends to be Wildcard's best map, either that or Consulate. So if Okami are going into this map knowing they'd ban Consulate, they would definitely be expecting Club.
Well, let's get into the map. It's Okami taking on Wildcard. It's Clubhouse. It's map number 2. Wildcard looking to finish off this series and head themselves into the final. Dev, let's get into it.
A lot riding on this one. Wildcard have been in the grand final of every national tournament for the ANZ region forever, if I'm not wrong. Actually, there was one that they missed, the ANZ Cup back in 2018. But ever since then, Wildcard actually, I mean, technically it's only Silex, the coach from that original roster. They won the very first official ESL ran tournament in the ANZ region, and that was the ANZ Invitational way back in 2017. Silex won that. That team, Atletico, went on to become wildcard eventually. And since then, well, they've had some amazing performances. And if they win this game, they go straight back to that grand final to continue that legacy.
One man really standing out from the rest there, and that will be the Pulse. We saw a lot of Pulse play on Villa from both teams, gathering a lot of critical intel. Wildcard in particular, placing Pat on that operator, and they really used that intel to good effect. So that would be taken off the board here on Clubhouse. The rest of the bands, nothing too crazy. Valkyrie as well will be taken out, so that's even less intel for these defenders.
And what's actually really funny about this ban phase is both attackers fulfill the same role and both defenders fulfill the same role. So if you want to be hard breaching any walls, or rather clearing utility off of walls to hard breach, that's going to be a real challenge. No Thatcher to remove mute jammers, banner batteries, Kaid electric claws, etc. And no Maverick to Maverick trick the walls and bypass that wall denial. So we're going to have the Kali brought out by Pat as the little X factor there. Finally, she's come into the meta since getting buffed in Steel Wave, and we've seen her a bit in other competitions, but for most of Six Masters, that was actually played on the previous patch on Void Edge, so we didn't have, I believe, any Kali play during the online season.
Yeah, well, of course, heading into Steel Wave, as you mentioned, Kali did get a pretty significant buff. The Lance Fuse was reduced from 2.5 seconds down to 1.5, so it takes that utility off walls or shields or whatever you're clearing a little bit quicker. On top of that, she also got the same SMG that Clash has, which is a really powerful gun in its own right. So placing a player like Pat on her, not only will he be able to clear this utility that may be on the hatches or wherever else around the map, or walls, etc., he'll also just be able to frag out if he's already done his job.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we've seen great stuff from Pat yesterday in particular on Clubhouse. He went absolutely nuts against Knights. Already using the first Lance to get rid of any mute jammers on the Kennels walls. Rather, oh my god, I always get Kennels and Jacuzzi mixed up. The Jacuzzi walls.
Wow.
But this is this is a downstairs bomb site, of course, and it does seem to be an SSG-style roam from LFO, Akami, rather. The fact that it's Akami LFO always gets me. These guys are looking for an org, by the way. If anyone's in the market, hit them up.
Yep. Salesman Dev. You did a pretty good job.
I do my part.
Hopefully they can get an org, of course. That support definitely help propel them a little bit further in the region. Wildcard, really one of the first teams that are currently in the league that did receive some more full-time support. And I mean, you know, it's worked out pretty well for them. They dropped the one map all season, so it's been a pretty good success story for them. So we head into the rest of this round. Someone's getting lit up. I think that might be Cutie. He's taking a little bit of damage. Not sure who from. As he's now just chilling out in cash alongside Jack Daddy. Oh, Jack Daddy finally gets that pick. He had a little bit of a quiet first map, only going 1 and 11. But he opens up his account here nice and early on Clubhouse.
It's a pretty kind way to say it. A bit of a quiet map for Jack Dad on map 1. It was pretty horrendous. No offense to him.
Hey, don't be like that to Jack
I mean,
Dad.
he's popping off now, dude. So I'm giving him credit for it. Like, imagine going 1 and 11 on map 1 and coming up, finding the opening kill on map 2. Like, that takes some guts. And that's exactly what Akami seem to have right now. Wildcard looking a bit lost at clearing this roam.
That was close. Emo Rid, I don't know if he knows if there's 2 players in here, but there is. Or if he moves a little bit wider, no, he's going to stun it again. Do they know there's 2 though? That's the question. Emo Rin, he teases it. Oh, Diesel with the pinch will be shut down. Emo Rin needs to find 2 picks, collect that defuse, but he just gives up. He gets taken down, and Okami will open up the map with a flawless round. This has been quite the start.
I mean, that's one way to say, look, we are not going to go out 7-0 like Knights did. This might be Wildcard's map pick, and they might have some good results, but Akami are coming in prepared in a flawless round. That's, I mean, that's got to be a slap in the face to Wildcard saying, all right, check yourselves before you wreck yourselves, guys.
Well, yeah, that's right. They've already done better than the Knights. 1 round. So, look, Akami can pat themselves on the back for that, but they need 6 more to close it out. And I'm tipping that Wildcard are probably not going to easily gift them any more additional rounds. We're going to see Akami, they jump over to CC Cash. They've been the castle as well. So we may well see Wildcard's own strategy used against them with that lounge hold.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
That's true. We'll see. A lot of Castle, I've noticed, like, Castle's pick rate in this playoffs has been insanely high, and I have loved to see that. Like, I think yesterday on Villa, for the wildcard game, it was, sorry, for the Akami game, rather, it was like, what, 90% pick rate or something like that. It was almost every single round, and so far, 100% pick rate here in the first 2 rounds of Clubhouse. We're looking at Joker and seeing where he's going to be placing those down, potentially to assist with a roam downstairs. Indeed it is. Look at that. All those castle barricades, armor panels down in stock. I like that as well. A couple of shotgun shots on the wall to bar, which means that if any attacker from the wildcard side tries to play in stock to engage that vertical game, flush people out of cash, they'll be vulnerable to anyone playing in bar who'll see their feet. Nice stuff.
Of course, this downstairs hold has proved effective for Wildcard. A little bit risky for Akami to be using their own strat against them. Could be their downfall if Wildcard are aware of some potential weaknesses in that setup. So far, though, they're not really going below, as Pat will suss things out on this main wall and likely use a lance to clear it. As Diesel's just sitting and waiting to place an exothermic charge on that wall. It is being tricked, though, I believe, by Mango, so this could be quite challenging here for Wildcard.
Especially with Thatcher and the Mav band. The Kali comes out, and the Kali and the Zafia, that is just perfect. But Mangoes does manage to escape with his life, and that's quite significant. The Kali Lance to get rid of the initial Bandit batteries, and then the Zafia concussion to deny the animation from Bandit trying to put that trick down. Pat also opening up this unreinforced wall here on Con. This is really nice stuff so far from Wildcard, but Mangoes has said, all right, I'm not going to take my bat and ball and go home. I'm going to take my Bandit batteries and go over to Cash and chuck them on this wall over here to prevent the push-in from Con.
Still a 5-on-5 as we eclipse the halfway point of this round. Emo Room will reposition to this warehouse balcony. Get a nice long angle, pre-fires the wall. It doesn't do any damage, could have been close as Pat finds himself inside of Con. He has another lance that he can use, 2 in fact, to help open up this Con wall. Jerry's alongside to assist with his X-Pyros. He has 3, he uses 2 for an entry point, and this is a really nice setup for Wildcard. We know they love this playstyle, and so far, it's been a great start, and they should be able to convert.
Still the time left, and that's what matters. And look at all that info from Geo. With kennels open and this avenue open from Con into Cash, that is just perfect for Wildcard. That said, Jack Daddy to find another one. On the flank is Joker, though. He takes out Geo before he is refragged as well. So even though 2 great picks from Akami, Wildcard does refrag both of them out.
Ethan's going to get aggressive now. How many can he find? That's 1 on Rafters. He's triple for the round. He needs to find 2 more. They're both there, but he gets shut down. The refrag, though, there is from Diesel. He finds them both as they're stacked at the top of the stairs, and Wildcard will take the round.
That just all happened in the flip of a switch, didn't it? That was nuts. What was that? 40 seconds left. We were in a 3v3 because 2 great peaks from Akami found 2 kills, both refragged by Wildcard. Ethan, after refragging that 3rd one, was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to send it straight on into sight. And, well, he got 1 in the objective. That's pretty significant, but did leave it all on Diesel. Unfortunately, Diesel had the ACOG there and just mowed down those last 2 defenders at top red. Really lovely stuff there. Does make you a bit... anxious, I guess, when rounds end like that, where you have no idea which way it's going to go until it's over. But I guess a win is a win for Wildcard.
And I mean, Wildcard aren't strangers to those types of scenarios. They're often pushing late like that. Maybe not quite as close in the end as that one was. Going down to the wire, it was a 1v1. But I just think that their experience and their ability to stay cool-headed really paying off in that round. Critically, they don't let Akami get a big lead here, evening out that scoreline. Despite it being early in the map, you just don't want the other team gaining any confidence. Wildcard still trying to really play off that momentum they established on Villa, on the opposition's map pick. Trying to really feed into that here on Clubhouse.
seconds to go.
It is so difficult for Wildcard. Already coming up here against Akami, who has bested them in the past. Maybe not in the 6 Masters, but prior to that, we had that pattern where Wildcard would beat Akami, and then Akami would beat Wildcard, and will Wildcard beat Akami in 6 Masters? Maybe this is where it swings back and the pattern continues, but I don't know if Akami are in form enough to take down Wildcard. No, Emo! Ran out of bullets there. That would have been a freebie if he'd reloaded previously, but no, Joker gets away with his life. At least for Wildcard, they've cleared out that utility below.
Located by
But for Akami, to have Joker escape with his life, that's pretty significant.
He's mindful as he tries to rotate out of Con. Pat again doing some drone work. He's been quite critical in helping open a lot of these walls. Again, Thatcher has been banned, so clearing utilities such as Electro Claws, such as those Banjet batteries can be incredibly difficult. Carly again was not very popular when she was first released, but post buff, teams are really starting to filter her into their lineups, and so far for Wildcard, it has been paying dividends.
That said, we're looking at Emo and Pat here with Diesel to help get the Kennel's Wall. It looks like they're rotating off. Still the 2 concussions in the bag, and still 3 Lances for Pat. So I don't see any reason why Wildcard can't just do the exact same take they did last time around. But for some reason, they've backed off of it for now. Sussing out their situation, perhaps it's Emo to go below with the Zephyr. Geo's rotating as well. Is this a full rotate? I'm not entirely sure what the play is here for Wildcard. Not focusing on the Kennel's Wall just yet. Instead, trying to take Garage. It would be so much easier if they had that Kennel's Wall open for this.
Itby has been droned out. Still has an active ADS, at least 1 to his left. So clearing this position will be incredibly challenging with utility. They're basically banking for him to pop his head up and for that to be cleared. That nade does a little bit of damage, but that's not going to hurt his chances of winning this gunfight. Ethan will enter and get down. Mangoes to cover. He doesn't get refragged though, and actually gets his way back over the shield. The refrag there lacking from Wildcard could prove costly. Itby Style is still holding this position. Mangoes on a slither of HP will be taken out from below. Pat with the SMG will clean that one up, leaving it in a 4-on-4 with 30 seconds left.
There's no util left for Wildcard to clear out this player, and I still don't know why they didn't open up Kennels. They could have punished Mangoes earlier if they did so. 20 seconds left for Wildcard. It's a mad dash now in through Con with the diffuser in Pat's hands. Geo looking to refrag this out. They'll have to take out both players trying to contest this, but there's a good pick there. 2 in fact for Wildcard. Cutie and Itby to hold this. Now Cutie taken out, but he does get 1 kill, all on Itby Style. We know how good he is against Emo Rin, but Emo can't chase that final kill. It was a slow take for Wildcard, stalled out, didn't open up that Kennel's Wall, but at the end of it, Akami win on time.
A little bit close for comfort there for Akami, despite Wildcard not getting the Kennel's Wall open. Also not opening the Con Wall. They were filtered through the vault in and through that Con door. They almost made it work, just with sheer gunpowder, but unfortunately, not enough time left. Emo Rin with no opportunity to attempt a plan, and even if he did, Itby Style surely would have shut that down. Either way though, that gives the lead now to Akami, who will head back to the basement.
I'm sure there's something that happened there that I didn't understand, but I'm really clueless as to why Kennel's Wall didn't get open there. We saw that the Kali had 3 Lances left. We saw that there were still 2 concussions on Emo, so they could deny the Bandit trick. My only summation is that Diesel had no exothermic charges left. Maybe they'd been tricked by Mangoes previously, but yeah, I mean, I doubt it. I didn't see that happen. I didn't think there was time for that to happen. But, you know, I won't dwell too much on that. I think that the linchpin for Akami that round was the fact that Wildcard didn't have that angle open of Kennels, but I guess Wildcard are just going to have to move on from there and reattempt this Church and Arsenal attack, which they previously lost flawlessly to a pretty successful roam from Jack and Cutie in Cash. Surely they won't fall victim to the same thing again.
Of course, it's important that we reiterate the stakes of this matchup. This, of course, being the upper bracket final, means that the winner of this match heads into the best of 5 grand final. Plus, they get the map advantage. So this is a big game. Wildcard here on their map pick, looking to close it out and give themselves that advantage, which will prove key later in the playoffs. Of course, it's not game over for the loser. They'll head to the lower bracket and they'll verse the winner of Pittsburgh and Sinister, which will be the next match this evening. But again, you really want that advantage. We've seen it time and time again, that map advantage in best of fives can really be a point of difference.
And Wildcard have positioned themselves so well to get that after winning Villa. We thought that Clubhouse would starkly favour Wildcard, especially after such a dominant performance over Knights yesterday. But Akami have really dug their feet in here. Indeed, that's what Jack and Cutie are doing once again at Cash, and Wildcard deciding not trying to watch their flanks against these players, not trying to just hard hit sight. They decide instead to go for the kills.
Well,
Indeed, Jack does that.
That's a nice opening there for Okami. Jack Daddy on the top floor. Of course, keep in mind that this is actually a basement defense. Very strong roam here. Itby Style himself on a very strong roam. He's cut off, though, potentially from rotating back down the stairs. It's basically a dead end here. Oh, that drone, though. I don't think that spotted him, Dev. Itby Style could be in a big position for a flank late here.
Wildcard were flawless last round, and it might happen again. Diesel taken out. Ippy on the rotation, but is Pat there to find him? Trying to chase that kill is Pat, but it's such a small magazine, he makes it work anyway. Now we're looking at Wildcard trying to salvage the round. 3 versus 4, still this roam clear. Not successful. Where is Jack and Cutie? They seem to have gotten back to site. Indeed, that's the case. What is that rush in? Cutie's ready for it. Ethan goes down. Fool me once. It's not going to happen. Now just the 2 players left from Wildcard. In a 2 versus 4 time on their side, but not the numbers, not the maths.
Ready to breach.
Pat will use a breaching charge to desperately find a kill from above. Okami trying not to expose themselves to these angles, knowing that they have a clear advantage in this round. Geo will flash out, get aggressive on that, but the shotgun wide peak shuts him down. Jack Daddy finds one as well. And Dev, Okami are really showing up here on Wildcard's map pick.
And once again, it was Jack and Cutie to really stall out Wildcard there at the start on the roam. Jack found that opening kill onto Emo, at which point Wildcard said, look, instead of trying to chase these players in cash, let's just go and I guess hard hit sight. But Diesel caught off guard because of some poor droning, I guess, some missed drones, and of course it's so easy to miss drone a Vigil. Ippy Star was given a freebie, and then he got back to site, or almost got back to site before getting caught off by Pat. But the other 2 roamers, Jack and Cutie, managed to get back to site, and from there they found 3 more kills between them. Akami, really good stuff. Early roam, keep the pressure on Wildcard, and then back off, make sure that Wildcard can't just rush site in the late round and catch you off guard. Now Akami in such a strong position here on their defense. Of course, it is defense here on Clubhouse. Depending on the region, we see defense favored, but it's not every time.
I don't think the scoreline is fully reflective of a defensive-sided map. It definitely feels like they're outsmarting or outwitting their opponents a little bit. I mean, Ippy Style just casually crouching in a corner gave his team such a big opening in that round, and he dropped the diffuser. Diesel was taken out, and on top of that, it was also their hard breach. At that point, it was really difficult to recover.
One thing I will say, though, for Wildcard is yesterday when they 7-0'd Knights on this map, 6 of those 7 rounds were defense. So most of what that tells us is Wildcard are really good on defense on Clubhouse, not necessarily the attack, because technically Wildcard have won just as many attacks here against Akami as they did yesterday against Knights. So even if we end up at a 5-1 half for Wildcard, well, for Akami rather, Wildcard have showed that they can have some really strong defenses, but I think that you need to at least, 2-4 it up, hopefully a 3-3 here for Wildcard to really guarantee that they're going to take this one.
That said, though, 3 occasions this season Wildcard played this map and the scoreline was 7-5, so it was actually incredibly close. They won it on 2 of those occasions, lost it on the 3rd before then taking down PK. 7-2 in the regular season, so I don't think Wildcard can really afford to let this one slip too far away. But that ill-advised run out from Cutie will give them the advantage in at least round number 5, and Wildcard will be trying to feed off that. Akami definitely playing a lot more fluid here on Clubhouse, but so far it's not paying off.
I mean, it did the first 3 rounds, but not so here. Now, great control from Wildcard, already cleared out a lot of players on the bomb site, but still at top red. It's Jack Daddy to hold on. Fell asleep on map 1, but fragging out here on map 2. It's just him and Joker left, and he's going to rotate back to site. Now, Wildcard, they might not know it yet, but they have this good control of Cash and tons of time to work with, plus a man advantage. Wildcard to rotate over to Kennels now. Right, oh my goodness. Jacuzzi, they already opened Kennels.
Damn.
Every time, man. Every time. Every time. Diesel likely to open up this Jacuzzi wall, though, and that'll really restrict the rotations and the movement from Akami. Actually, he's seemingly just going for Logi Hatch, and that makes him vulnerable to a C4 from Joker. Akami clawing this one back from a 2 versus 5 into a 2 versus 3.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
This round is definitely a little bit more winnable now. A bit of time expended as Ethan is forced to go collect that diffuser, which was dropped. Nate is cooked, trying to rebound it off the hatch or the wall at least in towards Joker's position, but it will fall short. Joker just holding this angle. If he finds this pick and the diffuser drops, Akami will be in a perfect position to convert this round. Wildcard surely are trying to time this push in towards Logi. Joker, though, he gets distracted. The pre-fire from Jim Window will grab his attention. Ethan now can surely get something going.
With Pat taken down, it's basically impossible for Wildcard to try and open Jacuzzi now. And now the double drop in. The concussions to assist, 10 seconds left. Joker and Jack in such a strong position to hold it, but it's all on Jack. He's not good enough. And we maybe breathe a sigh of relief for Wildcard there, who from a 5 versus 2 threw it into a 3 versus 2. But Gio and Ethan ain't going to let it stick there. They do dig their feet in, dig their heels into that one, and call their second attack round here on Clubhouse.
I just love the way that despite Diesel being taken down by that C4 and the diffuser being dropped, Wildcard were able to just take their time, take a breath, think things out, and go for a calculated push that pinched those remaining defenders. They played it super well, considering the pressure that was on their shoulders, especially at the round deficit. They're now in a great seat to try and actually even out the half, which, based on the way it has gone so far, I think would be a very admirable response.
Well, I've been really worried here for Wildcard. You know, they started this with the flawless round against them. Akami's been so good. At this point, right now, things are starting to look the other way, and to be honest, I'm favoring Wildcard now for this map. If you want to run through some things, like firstly, Akami has to defend Cash now, or they can reattempt Jim Bedroom, but that didn't work out so well for them. Reattempting Cash here, well, they won this once on the defense, but that was when Wildcard failed to open the Kennels wall at all, and they stilted out. They didn't have any avenues open that they needed. Now, assuming Wildcard can open Kennels wall, which should be pretty simple and straightforward with the Kali, Thermite, and Zafir, then I think that they're favored in this round, and they should be able to win it like they did the first time they attacked it. And then, at a 3-3 half, even a 4-2 half, best that Akami can ask for, Wildcard, they won 6 defenses in a row against Pittsburgh Knights yesterday. Who's to say they can't do the same, or at least win the majority of their defenses here against Akami? And I mean, even if Wildcard win 4 defenses at this point, that's likely to mean minimum overtime and maximum winning this map outright. So Akami really have their work cut out for them here. And they have to get this round.
Joker again on the castle, preparing that downstairs hold of Lounge, but it's been dismantled pretty quickly here by Wildcard, who will rotate towards the Kennels wall. Pat with a lance will be able to destroy these charges that are on the wall. Not sure if it's an Electro Claw or Bandit batteries. Either way, though, Pat will be able to clear them. Surely Emo will be prepared to concuss any sort of retake. Mangoes now is going to try and attempt it, but he's too slow. The concussion, I think, would have hit the mark. Either way, though, the wall is opened. That's a great start for Wildcard.
And now I'm starting to see perhaps the reason why Wildcard lost this the previous time, why they couldn't get that Kennels wall open. It may have been an Electroclaw that was in a position that the Kali's lance couldn't reach, perhaps even downstairs in Lounge itself. But this time around, Wildcard gets that open, and already things are looking better for Wildcard than it did on their previous attack of this bomb site. But Akami, we know that their anchors can deal some damage. Jack Daddy here he's had such a good map so far.
Oh, I thought Pat was going to get pre-fired there, but unfortunately, Akami just missed the mark, and Pat will live to see another round out. That would not have been a great start. He needs these Lancers for this con wall.
It's a great point there, but even if he does open it up, get rid of any bandit batteries or electrocores, we still have Mangoes who could bandit trick that wall. That's why Pat isn't going to put him on too early. He doesn't want the opportunity for Jack or Mangoes to deploy their utility and re-electrify that wall. Now 1 minute left in a 5-on-5. Mangoes is actually on the roam. Definitely not going to go for a trick, but he does have a C4, so Wildcard need to ensure they have this control underneath the bomb site, even in the late round, and that's Ethan's job, to prevent Mangoes from getting a C4 to deny plant.
Mango's wary that there could be a player below, and if he does push to lounge, he has to take on the best gunner of the entire season so far, but he instead looks to go up the central stairs as a player to greet him. Will he win the gunfight? Maybe there's intel here, or maybe he's just being tasked with holding the flank. Either way, though, there's only 20 seconds left there. Wildcard need to get things going quick.
And Ethan finds that first one. Mango's still allowed to rotate into Con. Surely he can have a flank of his life here. He needs to. 3 versus 4, Diesel forcing down that kit. 2v4, Mangoes has to come up huge, but Dio's flank watch shall not be stopped. It's all on Itby now to claw this one back in the post plant. 1 versus 3, such a tough position to be in. Has to walk through so many crossfires, doesn't know where the players are. 30 seconds ticking away here on the timer. Itby to pre-fire out. Another drone sees his position. Caught from every which way. Wildcard to end that half. Very nice stuff there from Emo.
Oh no. Well, that's a little bit demoralizing there for Okami, who despite having a pretty strong start here on Clubhouse, let that lead slip away on the defense. Now 3 apiece, and as you mentioned earlier, Dev, these defenses from Wildcard have been mighty, mighty strong, so Okami need to bring everything they've got if they want to win this map.
And this is why Okami has to come out really strong early on these defenses. They can't just, drop this first one, maybe get the second one. No. They have to come out really strong out of the gate. I want to see 3 straight rounds here from Okami on the attack, because if not, firstly, we know Wildcard are really good on defenses. They won 6 in a row against Knights yesterday. Secondly, the pattern this entire series has been that every half, Okami starts off better, and then Wildcard starts to adapt. In that last round, Okami won 3 out of the 4 first rounds of the half, and then Wildcard won the next 2. Same thing happened on both previous maps. Or both previous halves, rather, of the former map. And for Okami now, this is such an uphill battle. I know that it's a 3-3 scoreline right now, but they're on the attack. They're tasked with dealing with these defenses. They need to make sure that they can keep the ball rolling here, keep that momentum up, and push it to map 3.
And of course, Okami on that attack will not have the Thatcher or the Maverick to rely on. Pretty similar attacking lineup to what we saw Wildcard bring to the table. We do see the Kali and the remaining 2 hard breaches to boot. Of course, keep in mind that Ace is a hard breacher, but he is currently in quarantine, so he cannot be played in these matches.
Aren't we all?
I just want to call an Ace with Ace. I want to be the first person.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
I feel like Ace of Pyrite should be the first person to call an Ace.
Yeah,
with Ace,
actually, yes, that is true. That would be a very good meta joke, indeed.
Giga Brain stuff. Here, let's have a look at Wildcard's defense. Bottom floor for Okami. Map clear happening pretty much unimpeded. Once again, Wildcard not opting to do an SSG roam. What was fairly successful, well, in fact, 100% successful for Okami when they defended with that heavy roam. Wildcard seemed to favor this anchor-style defense. They did it against Knights yesterday, and obviously were flawless, because they didn't even drop them around on the map. Oh, there's a drone. A freebie there for Geo. Playing the Maestro, he has the impact grenades to trick this hatch. And the Lance destroy that claw.
Geo, he has impact grenades and could use that to trick this kitchen hatch. It looks like he is preparing for that, as the moto hatch will get open. No, it actually got tricked. So that's
Wow.
a great play from Ethan, a misplay by Okami, and that's going to waste even more time and utility for these attackers. That's a devastating start to this round.
And he's still got one in the pocket too. As soon as he hears the lance go out, he can rip off his claw. And there you go. The lance goes out, and that destroyed the claw from Ethan. Does the hatch get open there? The kitchen hatch is denied thanks to the impacts from Geo, but the moto hatch at least has been open. Now Okami with 1 minute 10 left. They need to find this round. At least they've got the hatch open, but it's only one of the 3 hatches they need, and still, what, 5 wildcard players alive.
It looks like Okami is still maybe trying to open this kitchen hatch, but it could be a lost cause at this stage in the round. Ippy styles over towards blue, preparing to try and frag this out, but again, that's going to be tough. A lot of these entries are being covered by wildcard, and Okami may well be forced to brute force this. So many of these key positions have angles, Dev. This is going to be incredibly difficult.
Can the
Oh,
C4
no.
land from Ethan? That's a player down,
no.
likely to be finished off here with the C4. That's Jack Dad on the floor, down and out. Now, Okami have to get aggressive. 20 seconds left. They don't have the ideal situation here, so they have to frag out. Ethan holding this line. Great crossfire, but Mangoes to find Pat. Ethan still trying to hold on. 2 players left for Okami to start strong here on their attack. It's not looking like it's going to happen. All on Mangoes now finds the 2 kills that his team gets, but that's all that they'll get. A wildcard, another very strong anchor defense here on Clubhouse.
I really like the fact that wildcard elected to play heavy on site. We know Okami are incredibly aggressive and frag heavy, if you would. So maybe executing that SSG roam would be more harmful than beneficial. And there we go. In the end, wildcard just completely shutting down the entry. Great C4 here from Ethan, collecting that downed player. An equally strong pre-fire from Mangoes, but it really just was not enough. The church wall wasn't open. They were filtered down the main hallway, and it's easy pickings for wildcard as they now have that round advantage.
And on their defense as well, in the lead here, Okami, I need to see them step it up here. It's been such a struggle so far in the series on Villa, which was Okami's own map pick. They had a couple good rounds, but wildcard seemed to be getting away with murder, a rush. So many strong rounds on wildcard's defense there, and now us moving on to the defense on Clubhouse. It looks to just get worse for Okami. They're bringing this Kali, but I just don't know if that's going to be enough here. Wildcard clearly have the strats worked out. They're ready for the Kali to be introduced to the meta, as obviously, as we mentioned previously, the Steel Wave update wasn't deployed at the time that the Six Masters League phase was played, which meant that Kali didn't have the SMG, didn't have the buff to the Lance, which meant that she didn't really get any play. Now that Steel Wave has come out, we've got the new operators, Yana and Oryx, the Void Edge operators. They're still not able to be played here in Six Masters, but the buffs to all those operators, like Kali, like Amaru, and also a couple of other changes like the proximity alarms being introduced, that's all in still. And Wildcard have adapted well to it.
Of course, one thing to note as well is Echo is currently an auto ban due to some issues with her at the moment. So that, of course, opens up the defensive bans a little bit. We've seen teams get a little bit more experimental in that department, Pulse and Valkyrie on this occasion, starving the defense from a little bit of info. But when you're playing like Wildcard and sitting on site with strong utility, you don't really need a whole lot of that intel off site. And so far, they have proved that point.
That's actually a great point, right? We have no info gatherers. Maestro unbanned, but it's one of Wildcard's really common bans in general, not picked at all. In fact, zero information gathering here on the Wildcard side. They're just playing off of each other and playing off strong anchor positions, as you said. Now, there is no bandit trick, no bandit at all for Wildcard, as we saw from Okami, but we did see the Electric Lord deployed down in Lounge through the floor, and now Joker is scratching his head because that claw was not destroyed. You're trying to drone it out, and now I think they've started to realize, oh, damn it, we have to go below to destroy this Electric Claw. It's on the roof of Lounge, and as the area of effect travels through solid surfaces, soft or hard, it does affect those walls. And Ethan's roaming to defend that claw with his life in Lounge.
Definitely brave of Joker to keep contesting this against Ethan, who, despite not having the strongest map
Bomb has been located.
of his season here on Clubhouse, is still going 7-5 and looking dangerous there at blue. Joker dies here. That could pose problems later in the round. He continues to get aggressive. Misses
no.
both shots. That's so ill-advised. Pat shuts him down, and with a minute to go, that really complicates things here for Okami.
Thatcher's banned. Maverick is banned. The only way you're getting that wall open is by destroying the wall denial with some other method. The Kali's not going to work because the Claw is in Lounge, so you've got to take Lounge and shoot it off the roof. But it's so difficult when Pat and Ethan are holding it with their life, and then they find the pick off of it as well. I mean, man, this is such a difficult position for Okami to fight from. The one round that Wildcard didn't manage to get Kennel's wall open, it was the round that they lost here on Cash, and it looks like we might see the same thing here for Okami.
4 on 5, 25 seconds on the board. The flashes go out. They really are going to struggle on this entry. Mangoes is one shot. Surely he doesn't take the diffuser inside. It's going to be such an easy denial. Emo Rin will find one. The diffuser goes down at the hands of Ethan. Jack Daddy gets one back. Pre-fires the wall. Can he find the second? No. Only inflicting a little bit of damage. And there we go as they rush in towards site. Wildcard will just shut them down one by one.
And it goes to show the strategic depth of Wildcard and how important it is to have those strong strategies and play into them, because Okami was completely bamboozled. We saw the first lance go out onto the wall. It didn't destroy the claw. And Okami thinking to themselves, oh God, where is this? They finally realized, it didn't take them that long after that lance went off for them to realize it's got to be in Lounge, on the roof, on the ceiling. But by the time they realized that, they started to rotate for it. There are two players from Wildcard playing to protect that claw. So not only are they using that strategy with the claw to counter the Kali, and of course the Thatcher and Maverick, which are the other two counters to that claw, are not in play. So basically there is no way you can use utility to get rid of that claw unless you go below. You have to go below. Wildcard know that. They play two players down in there to defend it with their life, and the Okami strategy, the Okami push isn't coordinated enough to take that control away from them. Wildcard get the first pick. Okami lose all chance of breaching onto the bomb site.
Wildcard now 2 rounds away from making the Six Masters 2020 Grand Final. And in doing so, will have a map advantage. Okami are letting this one slip away at the moment. Desperately trying to find a round here on their attack. Give themselves a look in to a map that started off great for them, but that switch of halves has really dictated the momentum in favor of Wildcard. And I mean, this really starts to pose the question. Wildcard are looking so dominant in this series, and looking forward, it's really hard to pick a team that can beat them, because Okami yesterday pretty confidently took down Sinister, and now Wildcard could well do the same to Okami. I think it's just a testament to how strong they're looking at the moment.
It does make you wonder, right? I know who's going to take some fight to Wildcard. LFO the only team to get a map off of them so far in the entire league, and well, they're not in the playoffs. Is anyone else going to be able to do the same thing? And for Wildcard now, the way they're doing this, it's just so great to see them playing into these operator bans so effectively. I'm not so much talking about the defensive bans, like a bit unusual, I guess, to see the Pulse and Valk ban, but really those attacking bans. Wildcard didn't seem to be, for the most part, aside from that one cash attack, they didn't seem to struggle too much with the Thatcher and Maverick ban. Whereas Okami, they struggled both on their downstairs attack. They got so many hard breach utility tricked. And here as well, on their cash attack, they struggled. But finally, they got another chance here. The final thermite charge from Mangoes.
Oh,
Surely
yeah,
you won't use that now. You want to open that in the jacuzzi wall, surely.
Jacuzzi wall, cash wall, but any wall but that wall, I would think. And fortunately, he does think better of it. It could have been a potential waste of utility. We've also got Cutie to assist, as Mangoes will now rotate, maybe going to that jacuzzi wall, as you mentioned, Dev. Shoots down that barricade, another additional angle in towards site that Wildcard will need to be mindful of. I think they're playing that shoot on the bed, indeed they are. They often place it here, providing some really nice coverage in the bomb site, which is so typically exposed. And Geo's just gladly playing off that, and the Lance gets eaten up there, I believe, by an ADS, and Geo's just laughing at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, how many stun grenades went in, but there was still an ADS to catch the Lance. Finally, the shield goes down, but was that all the stun grenades? Let's have a look at the util from Okami. There's almost none left. Have a look at this. 2 frags, 1 concussion, 2 explosives. but no stun grenades, so no more ability to burn these magnets that Geo keeps regenerating.
That makes things tough here for Okami, who are also now mindful of any flanks that could come out. Ibistar will be holding nothing though, as Wildcard again are just playing on site, playing into their strengths as they have for this entire half so far, not giving Okami what they want, which are these one-on-one gunfights off site. Ethan will get the first there onto Cutie, and Wildcard are looking so dominant at the moment.
25 seconds, Diesel misses that shot, but is there a planned possibility here? The player on the bed gets it up, but again, Diesel doesn't get that kill. There is a look in here for Okami, especially now they've taken out that anchor. 3 versus... Oh no, it's just a 1 versus 3. I said that they had a chance, but absolutely none. That is Wildcard to propel themselves onto match point in a dominant fashion, playing their own game here. They're 1 round away from the grand finals.
We are yet to see a best of 3 go the distance here in the Six Masters 2020 playoffs, and this series could be no different, as Wildcard, as you mentioned, are now on match point. 1 more round and they win the series 2-0 in confident fashion, and they will head themselves to the best of 5 grand final tomorrow with a 1 map advantage. It's going to be a massive advantage at that. They're just playing so well at the moment. Any look in from Okami has just been shut down time and time again, and that really has been the closest they've looked at winning a round, but even still, there's a confident conclusion there for Wildcard.
What can Okami do to crawl back into this here? They started strong on their defense, a flawless round to kick things off, but they still didn't manage to come away with the first half on their defense with a round advantage. They split it 3-3. And that really enabled Wildcard to get their edge here. They're looking at 3 match points. Even if Okami can start to steal away, maybe let's say 1 attack here onto Church, they've got to win every single bomb site. Wildcard has the freedom. They've got 3 rounds. They can try 3 different bomb sites. Okami, we need to see them really get back into this game after a strong performance on Villa that was just short of the mark needed. Clubhouse is proving to be an even greater challenge. Wildcard show no signs of slowing down whatsoever.
Okami looked so strong there in the first half until it started to slide away, and now Wildcard have won 5 rounds straight. And it's almost up to Okami to try and mirror that, really, and find a streak of their own before this one slides too far away. I mean, arguably it already has, right? They're 3 rounds down. Clubhouse attack. No Thatcher, no Maverick. It's proving to be so challenging, even with this Kali on the board. Both teams, but Okami more so. Finding it incredibly difficult to clear utility, incredibly difficult to open up a lot of these key walls. So far, it just hasn't gone their way.
The key thing here for Okami is to open up the 2 hatches they really struggled with last time. The Moto hatch, where Ethan is ready to trick with his claws, and that kitchen hatch, which previously was impact tricked successfully by Geo. The best way to counter... Oh no, they're going to use a grenade to try and flush out Ethan. This is such a tough nade to hit. And often it doesn't destroy the claw as well. And how many ADSs has Ethan got down there? He's got 2 of them, so he's
got a magnet. There's still a magnet on the wall. There's still a magnet on the wall. So, and an active ADS. This is not going to end well for Okami. They do try and get the hatch using a lance. Oh, they almost took out the thermite charge in the process, but there we go. It works out in the end. Ethan forced to fall back, and they will get the result they wanted. Just a little bit messy in the process.
But how much util? Like, those stun grenades wasted. There's still all these drones as well.
A bomb has been located.
So much util has been used up from Okami, and really all they've got is that 1 hatch off of it. They still don't have the kitchen hatch, at least I don't believe so. Moto drop here for Mangoes. He might go for this church wall. I think that's the best bet now. It's the hardest thing to deny, but Ethan, surely he doesn't have a claw left. He does. I think he's holding it. Or is that a C4? C4 in hand. No claws left. But there's still mute jammers on this wall. I don't think Joker has any lances left. 50 seconds to go. Surely Joker needs the utility here. There's none left. There's no way Okami can open the church wall. They had to use all of them on that hatch. Wildcard is just winning this utility game right now, and now Ethan's going to peek off of it as well. Goes for one, gets traded by the Claymore, but Pack gets greedy for it. 30 seconds left on match point for Wildcard.
Jack Daddy has a grenade that he could use over the wall, but time is running really thin here, and he rushes in through Suicide. It's now a 4-on-5 as it gets shut down, 3-on-3 rather, as the trades will come out. Mangoes has the diffuser in hand. They have 15 seconds to keep their hopes alive here on Clubhouse. Mangoes will find a pick. Pat and Diesel to deny the plant. The flank comes out, though. That's massive from Pat. No one is watching his flank. Diesel's stuck in dirt, though, so it's still winnable for Okami, but now they need to stick it. Surely Pat from above, he can dunk him. He doesn't quite know where it is, but the pings are out. He knows exactly where it is, and he rounds the corner. They're forced to go off the plant, and Wildcard will win the series 2-0.
A flawless defense for Wildcard on Clubhouse. We sweated for them a little bit on their attacks, but no matter at all. Wildcard in the Six Masters cannot be stopped. And they head straight on through to the grand finals, while Okami have to dwindle in the lower brackets.
Again, Ethan, top fragging there for Wildcard, and his team just enabling him to play his style. But it was a team effort. Wildcard just completely shutting down every attack from Okami. And even that final round, again, where Okami took another step closer to getting that plant down, the denial was there. And unfortunately, they couldn't get the plant down. Wildcard are just so dominant at the moment, and they get into the grand final without dropping a single map. And only one map in the regular season. That's nuts.
To think that Wildcard are still on this tear, and if we look back, right, Pro League Season 11 was the worst Wildcard has ever performed in ANZ history, basically. Like, the legacy of this roster, I know it's not all the same players, but the legacy prevails, and Wildcard hit rock bottom, 4th place in Season 11. They lost maps to basically every team out in this under the sun. Coming into Six Masters, we weren't sure about their form. They started really strong over Sinister, but dropped that map to LFO in week 3, and we thought, okay, is Wildcard really the dominant team? They proceeded to just destroy the competition. Coming into playoffs, it looks like Wildcard are going for that championship and ready to redon that crown.
Yeah, they're going to be in the best of 5 tomorrow. They have that map advantage, which is going to be massive. They have a 6-map pool. This is dangerous. I don't care who makes it to the grand final. They have the odds stacked against them at the moment. It's looking really, really rough. Even if Okami manage to fight their way through the lower bracket, they're going to have to verse them again. And after tonight, that's looking rough.
Yeah, look for Wildcard. That maybe there is the X factor if Sinister comes up through that lower bracket, because Sinister gave them a good run for their money during the season. But I mean, if it's Knights or Okami, it looks like Wildcard is just so good right now, and it seems no one can stop them. They've been flawless, and it's just amazing to witness.
Well, as I mentioned, Wildcard have secured their spot in the grand final for Six Masters 2020, and I know Silex is going to be grinning. Let's have a word. G'day, Silex. Congrats on making the grand final, mate. Fantastic performance today. Again, a dominant Clubhouse. Well played.
Hey, boys. Yeah, thanks for that. Great performance by the boys tonight. Got to be really proud of them.
Yeah, it's really fantastic to see you guys play. Especially, we got a little bit of a glimpse of the new meta that we didn't get in the previous Six Masters. There on Clubhouse with Kali being played a lot. Now, I hate to highlight one of the rounds that things went wrong, but I think with everything going so right for you, it's only those tiny things that we need to talk about that go wrong. So I want to know what happened it was your attack onto Cash, where you didn't manage to get the kennels wall open. What happened there, and what did you guys do to try and fix that for next time?
I don't actually know what exactly happened, because I could only see what was going on through the stream. But I suspect, like, we tried to drain out where the Kaid claws were. Maybe we couldn't see them, and Kali wouldn't be able to get them. Not entirely sure. So we just tried to bypass that altogether and go for a garage take. But I don't know, maybe we just couldn't see it that round, because the next time we attacked Cash, managed to get the claw properly, open the door or open the wall, and yeah, profit.
Fair call. Yeah, it was fantastic. I do want to bring it back to Villa, though, for a minute. You guys, I noticed that there's kind of a pattern that keeps continuing with you guys, where even though sometimes you might let a round slip at the start of a half, you guys tend to claw it back. And we've been talking a lot about the adaptations. What's it like, in the comms, and what's it like for the team when between rounds, when you guys mess up one thing, you come back and you fix it next time? What's that process like as a team?
Well, as you said, it's like a matter of adapting, realizing where you've made those mistakes, talking about what you actually did and how you won't make that mistake next time. And like during the round, you spot things that the opponents do. Chances are they're not really going to change too much around that sort of tactic. And you just try to come up with ways to deal with them on the fly. And just, yeah, got to come up with those tactics pretty quickly. Just talk it through as a team.
Well, Solix, again, we appreciate your time. No problem, mate. Congratulations on this hot win streak. Keep it up, mate. We'll talk tomorrow night.
Thanks. See you guys.
See you, mate.
I forgot to wish him best of luck in the grand final, yeah? I mean...
No, that'd
still...
be cast a cursing him, Dev. You're not allowed to do that.
That's true.
That'd be mean. That'd be mean.
That's true. That's true. But hey, man, wildcard. Looking unstoppable. It's just nuts. And to think that Clubhouse is the only map they've lost in Six Masters, and then they come back, they 7-0 on it yesterday, and they, what was that, a 7-3 today against Akami. Like, if you're a team going up against Wildcard, it's like, okay, guys, we're going to take some notes. How do we beat Wildcard? Where have they shown weaknesses? All right, they showed weaknesses on Clubhouse. Oh, okay, maybe not anymore. Like, it's got to be so frustrating. These guys are just such a dominating force. No one can come up against them.
And I mean... Look, I hope my numbers are correct here, Dev. I know I have a history of being fantastic with math, but that's 12 map wins straight for Wildcard. I can't really think of the last time we've seen a dominant performance from anyone in ANZ. I mean, even Fnatic to an extent in recent times, we're still drawing maps out when they were playing in the region. So Wildcard really just shoulders and head and shoulders above the rest at the moment. And if that form continues into tomorrow night, I don't care, as I said, who versus them. It's going to be a really tough challenge.
Yeah, and look, to touch on Akami for a minute, right? Like, we know Wildcard are going through to the finals, but Akami, like, they can still get there and go for that coveted rematch. And it feels like these guys, Wildcard and Akami, absolutely neck and neck. Locally in the region, at least we would have thought so for a long time. And they've rematched each other, what, twice in the last few weeks, because they played in Six Masters just in early June. In the league phase, and then today, and then we might actually see that rematch again tomorrow. What do you think for Akami is really the trajectory here? Because like they've got to go down to the lower bracket and face the winner of Sinister versus Knights. Do we see Akami maybe coming back into that final?
Well, I mean, the season so far has been shaping up a little bit strangely. Yesterday, we saw Akami pretty confidently take down Sinister, who themselves had pretty strong performances, not wins, but strong performances against Wildcard. So this series bracket is throwing things out of whack a little bit. I could definitely see Akami bringing this back, fight through that lower bracket to that grand final, but whether or not they can actually convert that best of 5 with what will be a one map disadvantage, if they play like they did today, I'm going to have to go no.
It's tough though, because right, like they played Villa yesterday against Sinister and did really well. They played Villa again today and it was very close. Like I think they did a lot better than maybe we expected, and better than they did on Clubhouse. But yeah, it just wasn't enough to edge against a Wildcard. And then coming on to Clubhouse, we were singing Akami's praises, right? It was a flawless round to kick things off, and that was absolutely nuts. Like Wildcard couldn't deal with those roams from Akami. So we still see those tangible things that Akami can grasp onto and hopefully come back for the rematch in the final.
Well, we do have our interview with the losing team this afternoon. Let's have a word to Sentis from Akami. Sentis,
hello there.
How are you,
How
mate?
are you doing?
Good to see you. Yeah, I'm going well, man. How are you feeling? Unfortunately, not the greatest night for you guys, but you still do have that second chance to the lower bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too bad. It wasn't, we didn't play our best game, to be honest. We did prepare a little better than, or we played a little worse than we prepared for. We did lose a lot of rounds in the last 10, 20 seconds, just over-peaking it or not playing too safe. So, yeah, I mean, I'm feeling not too bad, but I'm very confident that we can get to the final and then have another shot at it.
Now, in particular, there on Clubhouse, it was a really tough game trying to deal with that Thatcher and Maverick ban. You guys brought the Kali a lot, but weren't always able to deal with the Kaids and the wall denial and the hatch denial that Wildcard had to offer. What's the struggle there? And is that maybe something due to the fact that you guys are only just now trying to adapt to the Steel Wave updates, as that wasn't the case in the Six Masters Online phase?
Yeah, so we haven't practiced the Kali much, and with the Thatcher and Maverick ban, we kind of shot ourselves in the knee a little bit. Wasn't the planned idea. It was like a on-the-go idea, and it just didn't work out. yeah, we just gotta practice a little more with the Kali as well, because we just didn't have the timing down completely. So yeah, not the best idea from us, but I guess.
So I guess next up, going into the lower bracket, you guys are going to be facing the winner of Sinister versus Knights. Now, you guys have had pretty good performances against both of those teams now, and you got that head-to-head. So how confident do you feel that you'll make it back into the grand final?
100% confident, not even a doubt. Both of those teams we can easily 2-0 on almost any map. The struggles we had with Sinister mid-season was because our main fragger Jaden just went 2-12, which you see can't do that. You just don't do that, Jaden. But besides that,
no one's shading. You're an entry fragger.
Yeah, I gotta shame somebody here. No, but you saw last matches, like they all played well, and especially midday is Jaden's time. If it gets later, that's where Jaden just gets tired. So. Yeah, so I'm 100% confident that we're gonna get back to the finals, and that all of our players can show up, and then we can beat Wildcard in the best of 5.
Well, Sentis, again, commiserations for today, but all the best for tomorrow. We'll talk soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
See you, mate. Oh, look, positivity is key, hey? And apparently Ippy Style is the cause of all their issues. Maybe, I don't know.
Damn it, Style, you just got to tap more heads, bro. Like, come on, it's not that hard. Just tap heads, right? Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty insightful just to see how positive Sentis is after that, right? He's like, so confident. Oh yeah, we can 2-0 Sinister on Knights on any map, so we'll definitely see Wildcard in the final.
Well, Sentis is confident that Okami can make it into that grand final. Wildcard have qualified with a 2-0. On the other side of the break, it's the elimination final. Sinister taking on the Knights. We'll see you soon.
Drop the bomb diffuser. Attackers have recovered their swapping mag. Cover the diffuser. 10 seconds left. Diffuser. 10 seconds remaining. Drop the bomb diffuser.
Please hold. Your call is very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.
Hello, contender. Welcome to the Hyperscape, our new fast-paced battle royale that brings verticality to the next level. In Hyperscape, up to 100 players will compete in a variety of game modes. Squad and solo crown rush are the main modes where battle royale champions are crowned. Neo Arcadia is a virtual, shimmering city designed to encourage vertical mobility and fast-paced combat situations. From sky-high towers to deadly interiors, you will constantly need to adapt your fighting styles. Once the battle begins, your personalized deployment pod is your transport to the battle. You will be able to drop in any part of the map, so pick your drop spot wisely. Hit the ground running, because you'll start with only a melee weapon. Hotly contested landmarks are known to contain abundant caches of gear, but high risk brings the chance of high reward. Gear is found inside buildings, closed off by breakable barricades and inside supply crates located around the map. As you traverse the city, looking for gear and enemies, you'll discover the different environments create diverse gameplay opportunities and challenges. Your competition may come from any angle. Every battle in Hyperscape is a fresh experience where you leverage the varied arsenal you will find in Neo Arcadia. Your loadout is not determined by the character you choose, but by the weapons and hacks you loot. From full auto assault weapons to powerful energy blasters, there is a tool for any playstyle. Hacks are game-changing abilities you loot around the map that grant skills for offense, defense, and movement. You can loot 2 weapons and 2 hacks and swap them at any time if you need to change your strategy. The choice is in your hands. If you find a copy of a weapon or hack you already have in your possession, you can fuse it, creating an upgraded version. Each item can be upgraded several levels, improving magazine size, damage, or cooldown duration. As you discover your footing in the Hyperscape, your squad will be there to help you. Use the ping system to sync with your squad and warn them of potential threats or alert them to potential resources. If an enemy manages to take you out, the battle is not over. At 0 health, you'll become an echo and you can help your squad by scouting ahead. When enemies are eliminated, a restore point appears in that spot. Find a restore point and your squad mates can bring you back into the fight. As your game master, one of my favorite tasks is to keep things lively by triggering battle events, such as the infinite ammo event or the low gravity event. Viewers on Twitch help influence my choice and can vote on additional events, so remember to play the crowd. Keep an eye on your map contender. As the match progresses, sectors will decay and collapse throughout Neo Arcadia. If you're too late reaching a safe area, you will take damage over time and may be exposed to enemy attacks. Those skilled enough will enter the showdown phase. The Hyperscape crown will spawn in the final remaining sector. From here, you have 2 different paths to victory. Become the sole survivors or hold onto the crown for 45 seconds. You are now prepared for the Hyperscape, contender. We here at Prisma Dimensions hope you enjoy your stay.
Kendrick.